Chapter 2800. Looking at Su Zimo's disappearing figure, the living beings on the Sky Tribute Square were stunned and could not react for a moment. Is the Peak Master of the Ninth Sword Peak a fool? He really went in. Although everyone was egging him on, not many people thought that Su Zimo would really dare to enter the Fiend battlefield. One of the dragons pondered for a moment and analyzed. Could it be that the title of Peak Master gave him an illusion that he's invincible and can even kill a supreme true spirit? Look, he landed in District 4. Look at the direction he's heading. He's indeed going for Xiang Meng. That's crazy. I haven't seen such a naive cultivator in a long time, haha. Don't talk about taking revenge on Xiang Meng. With his cultivation realm, it'll be good enough if he can enter District 3 alive. That's right. Along the way, if the evil spirits and sinful spirits find him, and if he is a lone cultivator, they will definitely not let him go. After such a discussion, more than half of the cultivators on the Sky Tribute Square turned their attention to Su Zimo. After entering the Fiend battlefield through the teleportation formation, one would land at a random location. Of course, since he had already determined that Xiang Meng was in District 3, he did not need to delay and could just rush over. Although the location of Xiang Meng and the others would also change, it would be much easier to find them once they were there. Su Zimo soared into the air and did not hide his tracks. Flying in the air, he released a supreme divine ability and traveled thousands of miles in an instant. He's really courting death. Seeing this, many true spirits on the Sky Tribute Square shook their heads with mocking expressions. I take back what I said just now. A Protoss sneered. Given the way this person is traveling, I'm afraid he won't live for more than an hour, let alone enter District 3. The other true spirits were also in agreement. Everyone knew that in the Fiend battlefield, the safest way to avoid being targeted by more evil spirits was to travel carefully on the ground. Su Zimo's method of flying in the air was too eye-catching and could easily expose himself to the many evil spirits. Unless one was a supreme true spirit, no one would dare to use this method to travel in the evil demon battlefield. As expected, everyone was still discussing, and some of the sinful spirits had already set their eyes on Su Zimo. In front of them, there was a living being that was 1,000 feet tall, and it was surrounded by pitch-black demonic chi. Its huge body was as indomitable as a demon god, and its appearance was similar to that of a human. However, it had 2 sharp horns on its head that were covered with mysterious whorls. Ashura. Roar. Shura's true spirit had 4 arms and 2 heads. At the same time, it let out a deafening roar in the direction of Su Zimo. At the same time, the Shura avatar waved its 4 gigantic arms, spreading its gigantic palms that could blot out the sky and cover the sun. Then, it came crashing down on Su Zimo. Su Zimo paid it no heed at all. A pair of almost transparent wings suddenly grew out from his back. With a flap of the wings, Su Zimo's speed increased tremendously, rising to a whole new level. Coupled with powerful escape techniques, such as Heaven's Feet and Earth-traversing golden light, he passed through the gaps between the Shura avatar's fingers. In the blink of an eye, Su Zimo left the Shura avatar in the dust. Even the group of sinful spirits that had been prepared to surround and kill Su Zimo missed. They had not expected that Su Zimo's movement technique would be so fast. These sinful spirits gave chase for a while more, but not only were they unable to catch up, but they also completely lost track of Su Zimo. In the Sky Tribute Square, a Protoss let out a cold snort and said, "This person's movement technique isn't bad, but it's useless. No matter how fast his movement technique is, can it compare to the evil demon Heavenly Yiksha inside? That's right. With how unbridled he is in the air, it won't be long before he gets targeted by the Heavenly Yikshas." Just as everyone was discussing, a group of Heavenly Yikshas descended from the sky, letting out ear-piercing cries. Their expressions were savage as they pounced toward Su Zimo. Su Zimo did not wish to waste any time on the way, and could not be bothered with this group of Yikshas. Another pair of wings grew out from beneath the ethereal wings. This pair of wings was surrounded by thunderbolts, moving as fast as the wind. Tempest wings. The ethereal wings and tempest wings moved at the same time. A series of electric sparks flashed on Su Zimo's body, and his speed increased tremendously once again. He instantly dashed out of the encirclement of the many heavenly yakshas and disappeared from where he was. For a moment, all the heavenly yakshas were stunned. By the time they reacted, Su Zimo had already fled far into the horizon. With their movement techniques and speed, there was no way they could catch up to him. All the living beings in the Sky Tribute Square were dumbfounded. Even the supreme true spirits on the war merit jade steel might not have such movement techniques and speed. A barbarian said, "No wonder this person dares to enter the evil demon battlefield alone. So, he has something like this to rely on." The Protoss was still stubborn as he said coldly, "So what if he can escape from the heavenly yakshas? He better pray that he doesn't encounter the Rakshasa ghosts inside." In the evil demon battlefield, the ones with the fastest movement techniques were not the heavenly yakshas, but the Rakshasa ghosts. Su Zimo continued to speed, encountering several obstructions along the way. However, he relied on his terrifying movement techniques and speed to shake them off easily. Many evil demons and sinful spirits did not even manage to touch the corner of his clothes. When he just entered the 3rd district, he was targeted by a group of Rakshasa. The many living beings in the Sky Tribute Square also noticed this scene. Their spirits were lifted as they looked forward to the next hunt. However, the strange thing was that the group of Rakshasa had just charged forward when they suddenly dispersed for some reason, allowing Su Zimo to leave without stopping him at all. What's going on? What the hell is going on? All the living beings on the Sky Tribute Plaza were dumbstruck, their faces full of astonishment. Only Su Zimo in the evil demon battlefield could vaguely guess the reason. A few days ago, he had made a move to intimidate the female commander of the Rakshasa race. The female commander must have instructed the other Rakshasa race members not to provoke him. Without the obstruction of the Rakshasa race, the other evil demons and sinful spirits did not affect him at all. Su Zimo's journey in the evil demon battlefield could be said to be smooth. He entered the 3rd district at the fastest speed possible and sped towards Xiang Meng and the others. Before long, Su Zimo finally arrived at his destination. However, Xiang Meng and the others were not here. He observed carefully in the vicinity and discovered some bloodstains from a battle. Following these clues, he continued searching and finally caught up to Xiang Meng and the others at the foot of a mountain. Xiang Meng was a supreme true spirit after all, and sensed it immediately. She turned around and saw a scholarly green-robed cultivator flying over from the air not far away. How dare a sword cultivator of the sword world enter? When Xiang Meng caught sight of the sect badge on the green-robed cultivator's waist, she recognized him instantly. The heavenly eye on her glabella cracked open with a chilling killing intent. Scanning with her spirit consciousness, Xiang Meng could not help but scoff when she detected the cultivation realm of the person. Raising her brow, she asked, "A heavenly being perfected immortal, what are you doing here?" "I'm here to kill you," the green-robed cultivator replied. End of chapter. Chapter 2801. Kill me. You? Ha 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 ha. As though he had heard the funniest joke in the world, Xiang Meng reared his head in laughter with a mocking expression. Even the supreme true spirits ranked above him on the war merit jade steel would not dare to kill him, let alone this heavenly human perfected immortal. Besides Xiang Meng were 9 other true spirits of the heavenly eye race, and all of them were at the Paradise Void realm. Upon hearing Su Zimo's words, the true spirits of the heavenly eye race sneered as well. One of the heavenly eye race true spirits volunteered, "Commander Xiang, leave this ant to me. He's not worthy of dying in your hands." "Go on." Xiang Meng nodded casually and turned around. Standing with his hands behind his back, he could not even be bothered to look at Su Zimo. Among the thousands of living beings of the 3,000 worlds, only supreme true spirits were worthy of his attention. Swash! In a flash, the being of the heavenly eye race stood opposite Su Zimo. The heavenly eye in his glabella was half opened as he said with a smile, "How should I kill you? It seems a little boring to kill you with a single move. How about I play with you a little more?" Su Zimo could not be bothered to talk to him. In a flash, he arrived before the being of the heavenly eye race in a single step. It was too fast. That speed had already surpassed a certain law, and traversed countless layers of space instantly. Without any pretense, Su Zimo raised his hand slightly and formed a sword finger. With a sharp glint, he stabbed towards the glabella of the Heavenly Eye Race true spirit. The being of the Heavenly Eye Race was shocked, and his pupils constricted. Before the sword finger arrived, the Heavenly Eye in his glabella could no longer withstand the sharpness of the sword finger, and felt a sharp pain as fresh blood flowed out. At that moment, it was too late for him to teleport even if he wanted to. He could only roar and try his best to open his Heavenly Eye in his glabella. Channeling his essence spirit wildly, he wanted to use the power of his Heavenly Eye to fight against Su Zimo. However, the moment he opened his Heavenly Eye, the sword finger had already arrived and tapped his Heavenly Eye. Crack! 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 A cracking sound came from between his eyebrows. At the same time, the back of the Heavenly Eye Race being's head split open, revealing a bloody hole that was 2 fingers wide with blood gushing out. With just 1 finger, Su Zimo had blinded the Heavenly Eye of the creature from the Heavenly Eye clan. At the same time, his sword finger was so sharp that it pierced through the creature's head. After the Heavenly Eye clan reached the true self realm, all of their Tao techniques would be condensed in the Heavenly Eye at their glabella. To the true spirits of the Sky Eye clan, the Sky Eye was the Tao fruit, and the Tao fruit was the Sky Eye. Now that his Heavenly Eye was shattered, his essence spirit was also destroyed by the sharpness of Su Zimo's sword finger, and he died on the spot. Instant kill with 1 finger. A Dongshu stage true spirit of the Sky Eye clan couldn't even last 1 round in front of Su Zimo. The remaining few Sky Eye Race true spirits saw this, and their expressions changed drastically. Xiang Meng, whose back was originally facing Su Zimo, felt an unprecedented sense of danger when she heard the panicked roars of her clansmen. It was as if a catastrophe was about to befall them in the next moment. Not good. Xiang Meng's heart sank. Without time to think, she channeled her essence spirit and opened the Heavenly Eye at her glabella, turning around. Space-time shackles. Xiang Meng growled deeply. The moment she turned, the Heavenly Eye at her glabella released a powerful divine power that shrouded Su Zimo with the supreme divine power. It was a double lock of time and space. Not only was time still, space was frozen as well. Su Zimo was frozen in midair and could not move at all. The two of them were merely an arm's length apart. If Xiang Meng was slower by a second, he might have died by now. Thankfully, he was not careless and released a supreme divine power right away when he realized that something was amiss. This was the experience accumulated through countless baptisms of blood and the tempering of life and death. Looking at Su Zimo, who was inches away, Xiang Meng broke out in cold sweat and was enraged. "Aunt!" Xiang Meng gritted her teeth and glared at Su Zimo with her 3 eyes widened in rage. She said coldly with a murderous aura, "You're still too inexperienced to kill me. I'm going to dismember you and have you die bit by bit in fear. Eventually, I'll grind your bones to dust." Crack! Crack! All of a sudden, a series of strange sounds came from Su Zimo's body, right in front of Xiang Meng. 4 pairs of ivory tusks that were as white as jade grew out of Su Zimo's back slowly, emitting a terrifying aura. Under normal circumstances, space-time shackles would not only lock onto a cultivator's body, but also their bloodline, essence spirit, and even quintessential essence Tao techniques. But now, an incomparably powerful divine power surged from Su Zimo's body. Unless, a supreme divine power. Only a supreme divine ability could fight against his supreme divine ability. At the thought of that, Xiang Meng was shocked. This perfected immortal was only at the heavenly being realm, but he had comprehended a supreme divine power. Immediately after, the power within Su Zimo's body skyrocketed. His glabella shone and his spirit consciousness surged. Suddenly, a blinding blood-colored sword light with a chilling killing intent burst forth from his body. That sword light seemed as though it could kill everything and destroy heaven and earth. That sword light seemed to contain the strongest killing intent in the world, and instantly broke through the space-time shackles that shrouded Su Zimo's body. Supreme divine power, immortal slaying sword. Pust! Xiang Meng sucked in a breath of cold air. Her expression changed drastically, and disbelief appeared on her face. A second supreme divine power. How is that possible? That person's essence spirit did not collapse after releasing two supreme divine powers consecutively? Not only that, the immortal slaying sword released by that person could break through his spacetime shackles. This meant that this perfected immortal at the heavenly being realm, who was 2 cultivation realms lower than him, could definitely take him head-on, in terms of combat strength. A supreme perfected spirit. The green-robed cultivator before her was a supreme perfected spirit expert. Xiang Ming was truly shocked. The moment she was distracted, a green light burst forth from Su Zimo's glabella. Instantly, it entered Xiang Ming's body and exited from his back. Xing. Right in front of the horrified gazes of the heavenly eye race beings, Xiang Ming's body was split into 2 from the middle by the green light. Fresh blood spewed out, and her organs spilled all over the ground. Xiang Ming's essence spirit was destroyed and she was dead. The green light revealed its true form. It was a sharp and cold jade-green longsword. It was the Qingping sword. The strongest innate talent of the heavenly eye race was the heavenly eye in their glabella. Because of that innate eye, it was easier for them to comprehend the mystic arts and techniques, and the mysteries of heaven and earth. That heavenly eye was the source of their power. However, the bloodline and physique of the heavenly eye race was not considered superior among the 10,000 races. Su Zimo broke free from the spacetime shackles. Given this distance, Xiang Ming could not defend against his killing attack. Furthermore, he had summoned the Qingping sword right away, and Xiang Ming did not even have a chance to dodge. Initially, Xiang Ming was wearing a layer of defensive armor that was torn apart by the Qingping sword. It was a treasure that was only created after the Qinglian ascended to grade 12. There were not many divine weapons in the entire 3,000 realms that could defend against the sharpness of the Qingping sword, let alone a physical body. Chapter 2802. The remaining 8 true spirits of the heavenly eye race opened their mouths wide, their faces full of fear. They were all dumbfounded. Xiang Ming had died too quickly, and too suddenly. As such, they could not accept it or believe it. How is that possible? Xiang Ming was a supreme true spirit. A true spirit expert whose combat strength could be ranked in the top 100 in the entire 3,000 worlds was slashed into 2 by a single slash just like that. In their eyes, Xiang Ming had died too easily after being slashed by Su Zimo. However, in reality, Su Zimo had to release 2 supreme mystiques consecutively to be able to kill Xiang Ming in a single slash together with the Qingping sword. Although it seemed like a short exchange, only the dead Xiang Ming knew how terrifying it was. While the remaining 8 heavenly eye race true spirits were stunned, Su Zimo did not stop. The Qingping sword sliced Xiang Ming's body apart, and Su Zimo followed the sword through the blood mist. Wielding the Qingping sword, he appeared before the 2 heavenly eye race true spirits instantly. Buzz! The Qingping sword streaked across the 2 of them and shuddered, releasing a ball of resplendent green light. The heads of the 2 heavenly eye race true spirits were cut off neatly and tossed high into the air. Sharp sword chi surged into their consciousness and minced the essence spirits of the 2 heavenly eye race true spirits. The remaining 6 heavenly eye race true spirits finally reacted. 2 heavenly eye race true spirits opened their heavenly eyes angrily and wanted to resist. Petrifying eye. Eye of the storm. A strange power descended upon Su Zimo and surged into his body. In reality, if the petrifying eye continued to evolve, he might be able to comprehend the supreme mystique spacetime shackles. However, the power of petrification could not restrict Su Zimo at all. Su Zimo was a grade 12 creation Qinglian, and the power of petrification did not affect him at all. He did not stop moving. Wielding the Qingping sword, he sliced through the storm that had just formed in front of him, and arrived before the 2 heavenly eye race beings. He pierced the glabella of one of them. With a backhand slash, he split the other into 2. Seeing this, the remaining 4 heavenly eye clan beings did not dare to resist. They all touched the heaven bestowment token at their waists, and prepared to escape the fiend battlefield. Su Zimo spun the Qingping sword in his hand, and slashed at the 4 people. In an instant, the Qingping sword seemed to have transformed into countless sword shadows, descending from the sky. The space around the 4 heavenly eye clan beings twisted and collapsed, forming a huge tomb. Countless green sword shadows intertwined and fell into the tomb, forming a lifeless sword tomb, cutting off all signs of life. As for the 4 heavenly eye race true spirits, they didn't manage to escape in time, and were trapped in the sword tomb. They were pierced by countless green sword shadows, and their bodies were riddled with holes. Blood gushed out, and they died. The Tao of sword burial appeared for the first time in front of the world, instantly burying the 4 true spirits of the Heavenly Eye clan. The great battle started suddenly, and then came to an abrupt end. In the blink of an eye, Xiang Meng's group of 10 from the Heaven's Vision world was completely annihilated, with no survivors. Sky Tribute Square suddenly became so silent that even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. All the creatures from the various worlds witnessed the scene that had just taken place on the demonic battlefield. They were all shocked, and their faces were filled with horror. What happened earlier on was beyond everyone's imagination. Xiang Meng was killed by the Peak Master of Ninth Sword Peak with a single slash. The other Heavenly Eye clan true spirits were also slaughtered like vegetables. The entire process took merely a few breaths, and Xiang Meng's group was completely annihilated. Even with the Sky Tribute badge, they could not escape the calamity. This was not a great battle, but more like a one-sided massacre. Looking at the green-robed man who was cleaning up the battlefield in the Fiend battlefield, and that delicate face of his, many true spirits felt a chill in their hearts. Since when did such a ruthless person appear in Sword World? It was no wonder that this person was a peak master. In the courtyard of Sword World, Lin Xuanjin gradually regained consciousness amidst the anticipation and worry of many sword cultivators. Lin Xuanjin's first reaction, after waking up, was to touch the Sky Tribute badge on her waist. After touching nothing, a look of disappointment flashed through her eyes. Yulong could see the disappointment in Lin Xuanjin's heart and consoled. Xuanjin, it's all right. As long as you're fine, you'll still have chances to earn battle merits in the future. As though she thought of something, Lin Xuanjin suddenly asked, "What about the female ape? How is she?" "She's dead." Yulan sighed gently, and did not hide anything. Lin Xuanjin lowered her head. Although she was expressionless, her heart ached. Recalling what she said to Su Zimo in the cave back then, she felt even more guilty and regretful. "Xuanjin, how are you feeling? Are you feeling unwell?" Yulan asked again with concern when she saw that Lin Xuanjin was silent. Lin Xuanjin snapped out of her daze and checked her body. Although her injuries were not healed, she was fine. Furthermore, there were no traces of her burning of her essence spirit, as though it had never happened. How can this be? Lin Xuanjin was well aware of the consequences of burning her essence spirit, not to mention that she'd been severely injured by Xiang Meng. There was no way she'd survive. "Master, were you the ones who saved me?" Lin Xuanjin asked. "It was Peak Lord Su Zhu," Yulan replied. Yulan said, "Brother Su spent a day and a half to pull you back from the gates of hell. He's the only one who can save you." Lin Xuanjin vaguely recalled that someone had been casting spells on her, while she was in a daze, injecting vitality into her body. She hadn't expected it to be Su Zhu. "Where's Peak Lord Su?" Lin Xuanjin struggled to sit up on her bed, and prepared to thank Su Zimo in person. "Brother Su. He was here just now." Yulan, Lu Yun, and the others looked around for Su Zimo. Kitsune was about to speak, when a burst of arrogant laughter came from outside the door. "Ha ha ha ha. Brother Lu, you didn't expect us to meet so soon, did you? Is that Lin Xuanjin of your Sword World still alive?" The person's words were full of mockery and schadenfreude. It was the Cold-Eye Monarch of the Heaven's Eye world. Lu Yun, Yulan, and the others' faces darkened. They turned and walked out of the room, looking coldly at the Cold-Eye Monarch and the others. The Cold-Eye Monarch saw Lu Yun, and the smile in his eyes deepened. "Lu Yun, why are you looking at me so angrily? I didn't kill Lin Xuanjin. It's her own fault for not being strong enough to defeat Xiang Meng of the Heaven's Eye world. She can only blame herself for not being strong enough to defeat someone of the same level." Lu Yun sneered. "Don't worry, Cold-Eye Monarch. I'm not as shameless and cruel as you. Because your son's Heaven's Eye was blinded in the fiendish battlefield, you used the power of the Heaven's Eye world to take revenge and slaughter millions of innocent lives." At the mention of this, The cold-eye monarch withdrew his smile and said slowly, Lu Yun, I've told you before that the blood of the Heaven's Eye clan will not be spilled in vain. Lin Xuanjin's death is a lesson to the sword world. Don't meddle in other people's business, and don't meddle in the affairs of the Heaven's Eye world. At this moment a weak voice came from the courtyard. Cold-eye monarch, I've disappointed you. Lin Xuanjin slowly walked out of the room and said indifferently, I, Lin Xuanjin, am very lucky. I won't die yet. Chapter 2803. He didn't die. The Cold-Eye King's face darkened when he saw Lin Xuanjin walk out. Yesterday's situation, he had seen it clearly at Sky Tribute Square. With such heavy injuries, how could he have survived until now? And Lin Xuanjin seemed to be in good condition. He had obviously escaped danger. The Cold-Eye King's expression changed, but he quickly recovered and smiled. Not really. You're lucky this time, but you won't be so lucky next time. Moreover, Xiang Meng from the All-Eye world took away your 1,000 battle merits. You're the ones who should be disappointed. Lu Yun said indifferently. Losing battle merits is nothing. As long as you're still alive, you'll be able to get them back one day. Ha 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 ha. The Cold-Eye King laughed. Lu Yun, you're too naive. As long as the All-Eye world exists, the people of the Sword world will never be able to get battle merits. The All-Eye clan will kill the people of the Sword world every time we see them. If we see them twice, we'll kill them twice. We'll kill until the true spirits of the Sword world can never rise again. We'll make sure that the people of the Sword world will never dare to set foot on the Fiend battlefield. You. Bai Tianxing was enraged and glared at the All-Eye King. If it wasn't for the fact that fighting was prohibited in the Sky Tribute world, he might have already fought the Cold-Eye King. Lu Yin Yulan, and the others also looked gloomy. Cold-Eye King, don't push us too far. Feng Su clenched his fists. Push us too far? The Cold-Eye King chuckled. You said it well, when you were meddling in other people's business. The Fiend battlefield is a battle between people of the same level. Even if you die, you can only blame yourself for not being strong enough. How can you push us too far? Lu Yun took a deep breath and said, Cold-Eye King, your All-Eye clan has 2 true spirits now. You have the right to be arrogant. However, one day, the Sword world will also give birth to a true spirit. We'll see then on the Fiend battlefield. That was the truth. So far, the 9th Sword Peak Lord Su Zhu had comprehended the immortal slaying sword. As long as she reached the Dongxu realm, she would be a true spirit. Kitsune had gone through the unprecedented 99 heavenly tribulations and obtained the inheritance of another supreme, Sword Dao divine ability. There was also Yun Ting, whose talent in Sword Dao was rarely seen since ancient times. He had long comprehended the immortal extermination, sword to the level of a quasi-supreme divine ability. Both he and Kitsune were only in the consolidation stage. As long as they didn't die prematurely, and had enough time to cultivate in the future, they had a very high chance of growing into the supreme true spirit. Of course, the cultivation of these 3 people was relatively low. If they wanted to cultivate to the Dongxu stage, they might need tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years. So far, the one with the highest chance of becoming a supreme true spirit was still Lin Xuanjin. Oh, the Cold-Eye Monarch purposely taunted. Which day is it? In my opinion, why not do it today? If you have the guts, then don't argue with me here. Let your Sword world's true spirits enter the Fiend battlefield and speak. Lu Yun snorted without a word. Not to mention that Lin Xuanjin, Wang Dong, and the others were injured. Even if the 8 of them recovered from their injuries, he wouldn't let them enter the Fiend battlefield and risk their lives. What's more, the Cold-Eye King was obviously trying to provoke everyone from the Sword world. Naturally, Lu Yun and the rest wouldn't fall for it. The Cold-Eye Monarch didn't conceal his voice. The commotion here had attracted the attention of many true spirits from other realms. Everyone gathered in a corner to discuss. What's going on? Why are the Celestial Eye world and Sword world on bad terms? I heard that the Celestial Eye world destroyed the 7-star Sword world and killed hundreds of millions of lives. Later, the Sword world's true spirits ran into them and saved thousands of Celestial Eye world's cultivators. Thousands of Celestial Eye world's true spirits died as a result. Xiang Meng led 9 celestial eye world's true spirits to defeat Lin Xuanjin and the others in the fiend battlefield yesterday. Lin Xuanjin almost lost his life. Ha 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 ha. Seeing that more and more people were gathering around, a celestial eye world's true spirits laughed loudly. Everyone take a look. The true spirits in the sword world are all trash. They're as timid as mice. They're so scared by our celestial eye world that they don't even dare to enter the fiend battlefield. Another celestial eye world's true spirit said, "If it were up to me, all of you sword cultivators should scram back to the sword world and hide obediently. Don't ever come to the celestial tribute world, lest you embarrass yourselves." The discussion in the crowd grew louder, and there were occasional bursts of laughter. Everyone in the sword world's true spirits felt their faces burning with anger. However, everyone knew that entering the fiend battlefield now was tantamount to suicide. Everyone could only swallow this humiliation. Lin Xuanjin, Wang Dong, Gong Sunyu, and the other top cultivators of the various sword peaks lowered their heads and clenched their fists. They didn't say a word. Who said that no one in the sword world dares to enter the fiend battlefield? At this moment, a woman's voice came from the crowd in the courtyard. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice and saw a young woman walking out from the crowd. "Kitsune, stop fooling around." Lu Yun frowned and reprimanded. The Cold-Eye Monarch was afraid that no one in the sword world would accept the challenge. His gaze fell on Kitsune and he asked with interest, "Little girl, you dare to enter the fiend battlefield?" "It's not me." Kitsune shook her head and said, "It's my master." The Cold-Eye Monarch raised his brows and asked, "Who is your master? Come out and let me take a look." Kitsune said, "He's not here. He should have entered the fiend battlefield by now." "What?" Hearing this, the Cold-Eye Monarch didn't have any reaction. Lu Yun, Yulan, and the rest were shocked and shocked. Lu Yun and the rest thought that Kitsune was joking. They quickly spread out their divine senses and searched the surroundings. When they didn't find any trace of Su Zimo, they realized the seriousness of this matter. Brother Su really went to the fiend battlefield? Lu Yun looked at Kitsune with a serious expression and asked in a deep voice, "When did he leave?" Kitsune thought for a moment and said, "After saving senior sister Lin, he left." "Aya." Lu Yun was anxious and angry. He shouted at Kitsune, "Are you stupid? Why didn't you stop him?" When it came to Su Zimo, as a peak master, Lu Yun had lost his composure, and his tone was much heavier. "How could I stop my master if he wanted to go to the fiend battlefield?" Kitsune also found it strange and asked back. Moreover, in her heart, there was no need to stop her master. Lu Yun said, "Even if you couldn't stop him, it's still not too late to say it earlier." But now, Yulan looked guilty and regretful. "It's our fault. We didn't pay attention to the others when we saw that Sun Jin had recovered." Feng Su sighed and said, "The main thing is that no one expected Brother Su to be so impulsive and run to the fiend battlefield." The Cold-Eye Monarch looked at the worried faces of Lu Yun and the rest outside the door, and was naturally happy. He didn't expect that there would be people from the sword world going to the fiend battlefield to die. A Heavenly Eye clan member whispered a few words in the Cold-Eye Monarch's ear. The Cold-Eye Monarch's eyes lit up. He suppressed the excitement in his heart and said in a strange tone, "Oh, I just heard that this sword cultivator surnamed Su is the peak master of the 9th sword peak? That's amazing. As a peak master, there must be something extraordinary about him." Chapter 2804. Everyone in the sword world could hear the mockery in the Cold-Eye King's words. Only Kitsune nodded and said seriously, "You're right. Master is indeed extraordinary." Her words naturally attracted even more ridicule from the Celestial Eye clan. There was also a burst of laughter from the surrounding crowd. "I heard that the 9th sword peak lord is only a celestial being true immortal. A celestial being true immortal dares to enter the fiend battlefield alone? He doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth." Lu Yun and the others had ugly expressions. Su Zimo's identity was special. To the sword world, he wasn't just a true immortal. The peak master of the 9th sword peak was only his identity on the surface. The sword world valued Su Zimo even more than Lin Xuanjin. If the old fellows of the sword world knew that something had happened to Su Zimo, Lu Yun, and the others would definitely be blamed. Lu Yun was filled with regret. He glanced at Kitsune and sighed. If I'd known this would happen, I wouldn't have brought you and Brother Su here. Bai Tianxing grumbled. Brother Su is only a celestial being, true immortal. Why did he go to the fiend battlefield alone? Kitsune said. Of course he's going to take revenge on the Celestial Eye clan. Brother Su is too impulsive. Bai Tianxing was also a little anxious. Kitsune looked at Lu Yun, Bai Tianxing, and the others with a strange expression. Master has entered the fiend battlefield. The Celestial Eye clan should be anxious. Why are you guys so anxious? Lu Yun Yulan, and the others were so angry that they wanted to laugh. This disciple is really big-hearted. Lu Yun sighed and shook his head. He was no longer in the mood to blame Kitsune. Yulan said, this isn't Brother Su's fault. He only decided to fight alone because Sun Jun and the others were injured and almost died. Wang Dong, Gong Sunyu, and the others felt a little ashamed at the mention of this. Lin Xuanjin also lowered his head in silence, looking worried. Even if he wants to go to the evil demon battlefield, he should discuss it with us first. Lu Yun continued. Moreover, he expended a great deal of energy to heal Sun Jun, then entered the fiend battlefield without rest. That's a bit too careless. Yulan said. Brother Su has the Feng Tian medallion on him. If he's alert enough, he should be able to escape unscathed when he sees that the situation is bad. That being said, the other party was a supreme true spirit after all, and one that had comprehended the space-time shackles. Even Lin Xuanjin had almost died. If Xiang Meng wanted to keep Su Zimo here, not to mention escaping unscathed, even escaping alive would be an extravagant hope. At that moment, Wang Dong seemed to have thought of something. His face turned pale as he said in a trembling voice, Peak Leader Su's Heavenly Bestowment Badge doesn't seem to have any battle credits. What? Lu Yun's, Yulan's, and the others' hearts sank to the bottom. Su Zimo's Feng Tian medallion originally had 20 merit points. Before leaving, he transferred 10 of them to Lin Xuanjin. After that, he left the fiend battlefield and spent 10 merit points. In other words, Su Zimo's Feng Tian medallion was empty. To use the Feng Tian medallion to leave the fiend battlefield, one had to have 10 merit points. It's over. He didn't even have the slightest chance to escape. Let's go. Lu Yun could not wait any longer and said in a low voice. Quick, let's go to Feng Tian Plaza together and see if there's a chance to rescue him. Everyone from Sword World hurriedly moved and sped towards Feng Tian Pavilion. The Cold-Eye Monarch chuckled and said leisurely, Brother Lu, don't be anxious. Wait for me, let's go take a look together. Who knows, we might be able to see an unprecedented battle. Everyone from the Heavenly Eye clan chased after. When the myriad races that were originally spectating here discovered that there was a show to watch at Feng Tian Pavilion, they would not miss this opportunity even more and followed behind noisily. Before long, everyone from Sword World already arrived at the entrance of Feng Tian Pavilion. Lu Yun was already prepared for the worst outcome in his heart. Taking a deep breath, he stepped into Feng Tian Pavilion first and turned right, heading straight for Feng Tian Plaza. Very soon, everyone from Sword World and Heavenly Eye World arrived at Feng Tian Plaza one after another. At this time, Feng Tian Plaza was somewhat quiet, the atmosphere strange. It was just that everyone from Sword World was worried and did not notice this abnormality. When the group of true spirits in the plaza saw Sword World and Heavenly Eye World rush in, they all revealed a trace of strange expressions. It seemed to be fear, shock, and sympathy. Quickly look, people from Sword World are here. Heavenly Eye World is here too. This is interesting. Everyone whispered in low voices. Lu Yun still held a trace of hope. He searched around Feng Tian Plaza and did not find any traces of Su Zimo. Only then did he raise his voice and say, May I ask fellow Taoists, which district of the fiend battlefield is the peak master of my Sword World's 9th sword peak? I'm here. Right at this time the third giant screen split open. A figure walked out from inside. Black hair, green robes, spotless, delicate features. It was precisely Su Zimo. When everyone from Sword World saw that Su Zimo was fine, they were wild with joy. A huge rock in their hearts finally landed. As soon as Su Zimo descended, Everyone from Sword World swarmed over. Brother Su, you were too rash. Why didn't you tell us that you were entering the fiend battlefield? Yeah, you really scared us to death just now. If anything happened to you, how are we going to explain it when we return to Sword World? We can understand that you want to take revenge for Sun Jun and the others and regain face for Sword World. However, there's no need to put yourself in danger and face Heavenly Eye World alone. That's right. It's fine that Sword World suffered a little loss this time. As long as you guys are fine, there's still plenty of time in the future. Lu Yun, Feng Su, and the other peak masters complained right away. There was a hint of blame in their tone. Although Su Zimo was fine, the few of them still had lingering fears. Hearing the words of the peak masters of the Sword World, all the living beings on the Sky Tribute Square were dumbfounded and confused. What nonsense are the peak masters from Sword World talking about? Put themselves in danger? Who put themselves in danger? That person had entered the evil demon battlefield and bolted through the air without any fear, leaving the group of evil demons and sinful spirits behind him. In just a few breaths, he had killed Xiang Meng and the others. How did that look like he was putting himself in danger? Moreover, how did Sword World suffer a loss? Didn't you just have a few true immortals who were slightly injured? The Heavenly Eye clan really suffered a big setback. Even their supreme true spirit was dead. It was like falling into a ditch and being completely wiped out. The four peak masters spoke one after another. Su Zimo didn't have a chance to explain. However, the faces of the Heavenly Eye clan members gradually darkened. They were very disappointed. The scene before them was completely different from what they had imagined. The Cold Eye King snorted and said, I thought the peak master of Sword World's 9th Sword Peak was some incredible figure. It turns out that he just came out after taking a stroll in the fiend battlefield. The Cold Eye King wasn't wrong. Su Zimo indeed didn't stay in the fiend battlefield for long. After killing Xiang Meng and the rest, he cleaned up the battlefield and went to that cave previously to take a look before coming out. The Cold Eye King stared at Su Zimo, wanting to anger him again. He sneered and said, If you have the guts, why don't you dare to find my Heavenly Eye clan and fight? A peak master is nothing more than this. In the eyes of the Cold Eye King and the rest, there was only one possibility for Su Zimo to come out of the fiend battlefield alive. He did not encounter Xiang Meng at all. Otherwise, Xiang Meng would not let him leave alive at all. Chapter 2805. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. After the Cold Eye Monarch said this, countless gazes instantly landed on his face in the Sky Tribute Square. The Dragon World, Wudong World, Tomb World, Light World, Barbarian World, Golden Crow World, Giant World. The true spirits of the various worlds looked at the Cold Eye Monarch as if they were looking at an idiot. You're talking about Xiang Meng and the others, right? Su Zimo said indifferently, we met. As for a great battle, it can't be considered. Su Zimo said it casually, but Lu Yun and the rest shuddered in fear. He actually met Xiang Meng and the others face to face. It was really fortunate to be able to escape unscathed under such circumstances. Oh, the Cold Eye Monarch didn't believe it at all and sneered. You saw Xiang Meng and can still come back alive? You're really spouting nonsense. Do you think I'll believe such low-level lies? Whoosh. Su Zimo didn't explain. He just took out 10 Sky Tribute tokens that were still stained with blood from his storage bag and threw them in front of the Cold Eye Monarch and the rest. The Heavenly Eye race was shocked. Their eyes widened as disbelief appeared on their faces. The Cold Eye Monarch reached out and grabbed one of the tokens. The name written on the front was Xiang Meng, and the battle merit points behind it were already empty. This was indeed Xiang Meng's Sky Tribute token. There was no mistake. How was this possible? The Cold Eye Monarch suddenly raised his head and stared at Su Zimo. He asked coldly, Speak. Why is Xiang Meng's Sky Tribute token with you? Unless Xiang Meng and the others encountered a great calamity, the Sky Tribute token that was hanging at all times definitely wouldn't fall into the hands of others. But the Cold Eye Monarch didn't believe it. Xiang Meng was a supreme true spirit. Who could kill him? Moreover, he had the Sky Tribute token. Even if he encountered experts like the 10 great demons in the fiend battlefield, he could use the Sky Tribute token to escape. How could they be completely wiped out? Lu Yun and the others looked at Su Zimo with bewildered expressions. Their hearts were filled with bewilderment, as they did not know what was going on. Not only do I have their tokens, but I also have these things. As Su Zimo spoke, he took out 10 round beads that were covered in blood from his storage bag and floated in his palm. Some of the 10 pearls were perfectly preserved, while others were covered in cracks. They emitted different Dao auras. Everyone present could clearly see that these 10 blood thread beads were the most important thing on the Heavenly Eye clan. The Heavenly Eye. Among them, one of the perfectly preserved Heaven's eyes emitted a Dao aura that was related to time and space. Unsurprisingly, it was Xiang Ming's Heaven's Eye. Hiss! Everyone from Sword World sucked in a breath of cold air. They looked at Su Zimo as if they were looking at a ghost. Only Kitsune's expression remained the same, as if she was not surprised at all. The moment the Cold Eye Monarch and the Heavenly Eye tribe saw the 10 Heavenly Eyes, their bodies trembled as if they were struck by lightning. If it was just the 10 tokens, Xiang Meng and the rest still had a chance of survival. But these 10 Heavenly Eyes were enough to prove that Xiang Meng and the rest were all dead. None of them survived. Su Zimo retracted his palm and put the 10 Heavenly Eyes back into his storage bag. He looked at the Cold Eye Monarch and the rest and said indifferently, "The 10 tokens are returned to their rightful owners. These 10 Heavenly Eyes still have some use, so I'll keep them." This sentence was simply murderous. Lu Yun and the rest were secretly delighted. They suddenly felt a sense of exultation. The Cold Eye Monarch had mocked and taunted them for a long time, but it was not as damaging as Su Zimo's words. "You." The Cold Eye Monarch was so angry that he almost spat out blood. His eyes were red, and the vertical Heavenly Eye between his brows couldn't be controlled. It wanted to open and kill, but soon, he felt a strong sense of danger. This was a warning from the celestial world. If he made a move here, he would soon be killed by the celestial world's rules. The Cold Eye Monarch kept taking deep breaths, trying to calm the anger and killing intent in his heart. He just stared at Su Zimo, wishing he could tear him to pieces. The group of living beings who had followed from outside saw this scene and were stunned on the spot. Their faces were full of shock. Xiang Meng, the supreme true spirit on the Battle Merit Jade Tablet, a top expert who had comprehended the space-time imprisonment, died in the Fiend battlefield just like that? The Cold Eye Monarch slowly turned his head, his gaze landing on the Battle Merit Jade Tablet not far away. As expected, Xiang Meng's name had disappeared from the Battle Merit Jade Tablet. In the 36th position, the name Suzhu was written. After killing Xiang Meng and the rest, not only did they take back the 1,000 battle merits on Lin Xuanjin's celestial token, but Xiang Meng and the rest's battle merits were also all taken by Su Zimo. Just one battle, and they were on the Battle Merit Jade Tablet. Normally speaking, it would take a long time to accumulate battle merits in the Fiend battlefield by continuously killing demons and sinful spirits. Some supreme true spirits even had to kill dozens of times in the Fiend battlefield to accumulate battle merits and make it onto the Battle Merit Jade Tablet. Killing a supreme true spirit on the Battle Merit Jade Tablet could take the battle merits of the other party and increase their ranking. This method of gaining battle merits was of course faster, but it was not practical. After all, those who could leave their names on the Battle Merit Jade Tablet were almost all supreme true spirits. Even if there was a winner, it would be difficult to determine life and death between supreme true spirits. Moreover, they had the celestial token. If the situation was not good, they could leave at any time. Who would have thought that the many living beings in the celestial square would be lucky enough to witness a new expert step on the corpse of a supreme true spirit and make it onto the Battle Merit Jade Tablet? The Cold Eye Monarch was still unwilling to believe it. How could it be? Xiang Meng was a supreme true spirit. How could the 10 of them die in the hands of a true immortal at the celestial being stage? This was impossible. Something unforeseen must have happened in between. Could it be that the 10 fiends had shown up to kill Xiang Meng and the others, and this Su Zhu had taken advantage of the situation? This conjecture was full of flaws, but it was still easier to accept than Xiang Meng and the others being killed by a true immortal at the celestial being stage. Even those from the sword world found it hard to believe, let alone the cold-eye monarch and the others. Although Lu Yin, Yulan, and the other peak masters knew that Su Zimo was Qinglian, they had no idea that Su Zimo's battle strength could reach such a level. Could he have released the creation Qinglian bloodline to kill Xiang Meng and the others? Was the creation Qinglian bloodline so powerful that it could allow him to cross 2 levels and kill a supreme true spirit? But judging from the other living beings' reactions, it seemed that he hadn't exposed the secret of the Qinglian bloodline. What had just happened? If the 4 peak masters were in such a state, their imaginations would run wild. Lin Xuanjin, Wang Dong, Gong Sunyu, Shen Yu, and the other true immortals of the various sword peaks felt even more conflicted. Could Peak Master Su Zhu really be that powerful? The 8 of them couldn't help but recall the scenes that had happened in the Fiend battlefield. Peak Master Su Zhu's senses were extremely sensitive, even more sensitive than Lin Xuanjin's. He could detect the Rakshasa ghost's tracks a long time in advance. Peak Master Su Zhu had even accumulated 10 battle merits without them noticing. He had even blocked Shin Yu's all-out attack once. This Peak Master Su Zhu's strength seemed to have revealed some clues in the Fiend battlefield. However, the 8 of them had preconceived notions and hadn't really paid attention to him. Chapter 2806. Thinking of this, Lin Xuanjin and the others felt even more ashamed. Back then, they had thought of Su Zhu as a burden and sent her away. Who would have thought that they would suffer the consequences of their own actions? It's getting late. I'll go to the treasure pagoda to exchange for some treasures, Su Zimo said as he walked out. After killing Xiang Meng's group of 10, coupled with the 1,000 battle merits that Lin Xuanjin obtained previously, Su Zimo's heaven bestowment token had already reached more than 5,300 battle merits. It was more than enough to exchange for the grand white mystic gold. Su Zimo walked towards the treasure pagoda. Only Kitsune followed behind him. The people of the sword world were still immersed in the scene just now. They couldn't recover from their shock. The Cold-Eye Monarch and the Heavenly Eye race all glared at Su Zimo. They wanted nothing more than to skin Su Zimo alive. However, this was the celestial bestowment world. Even the Heavenly Eye race didn't dare to challenge the rules of the celestial bestowment world, unless it was a life for a life. Moreover, only a Grotto Heaven Realm monarch could take Su Zimo's life. In the celestial bestowment world, there was only a split second to attack a true spirit realm monarch before they were killed by the rules of the celestial bestowment world. Only a Grotto Heaven Realm monarch had the ability to do so. The Cold-Eye Monarch knew that this idea was too daring. It was equivalent to breaking the tacit agreement between the great worlds. An immortal king powerhouse killing a prodigy of the other world, without regard for their status, was too vile. It could easily lead to even crazier revenge. However, the Cold-Eye Monarch couldn't take this lying down. He wanted Su Zhu to die in the celestial bestowment world today. The Cold-Eye Monarch looked at Su Zimo's departing figure, and suddenly transmitted his voice to an elder behind him. Shuangmu, you don't have much lifespan left, right? Although this elder was also a Grotto Heaven Realm monarch, he was the Cold-Eye Monarch's servant, and had followed him for many years. The elder seemed to have realized something. His eyes dimmed as he replied, "My lord, I still have 100,000 years left." For a Grotto Heaven Realm monarch with 1,000,000 years of lifespan, 100,000 years wasn't a long time. But it was just the beginning. The Cold-Eye Monarch said that Su Zhu's actions today, not only did he kill Xiang Meng's group, but more importantly, he's humiliated the Heavenly Eye world. The old man guessed the intention of the Cold-Eye Monarch, but he remained silent. After all, he was a Grotto Heaven Realm monarch. If he attacked in the celestial tribute world, it meant that he would die without a doubt, unless he had no other choice. The heavens. That's a life's life. If you a life. The monarch was the Su's of his. It's that of the Cold-Eye Monarch continued. If you kill him, you'll be doing a great service to the Heavenly Eye world. I can promise you that your clansmen will be treated well by me in the future. The monarch wasn't from the Heavenly Eye race. When he heard the Cold-Eye Monarch's promise, he finally relented. Yes, my lord. The monarch didn't have a choice. He had no way out. Even if he refused, the Cold Eye monarch would still kill him after he left the Heavenly Eye world. In the Heavenly Eye world, only the Heavenly Eye race was the absolute monarch race. The other races were all slaves. The Cold Eye monarch said, "Remember, don't take any chances. Don't hold back. Use your Yuan spirit secret technique and kill him." In the Heavenly Eye world, no matter what race the monarch was, their grotto heaven would be restricted. The safest way to kill a true spirit realm monarch was to use a Yuan spirit secret technique that was a whole realm higher than the grotto heaven realm monarch. "I understand," the monarch replied. He disappeared into the crowd and left the Heavenly Eye Plaza. He chased after Su Zimo. After leaving the Heavenly Eye Plaza, Su Zimo headed for the Treasure Pagoda. In the Evil Fiend battlefield, he killed Xiang Meng and the others. After cleaning up the battlefield, he returned to the old haunt and headed for the cave where the mother ape stayed. The mother ape was dead and left behind a cub. If no one took care of it, it wouldn't live for long. However, when he returned to the cave, he didn't see any traces of the cub or any bloodstains. Perhaps the mother ape had already taken care of the cub, or other sanguine apes had taken the cub away. As Su Zimo thought about that, he walked and gradually arrived near the Treasure Pagoda. All of a sudden, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat, and his spirit perception that had been calm for a long time warned him. A strong sense of crisis suddenly descended upon him. Su Zimo, who had walked on the edge of life and death countless times, didn't even look back or think. He just relied on an instinctive reaction and teleported with Kitsune. After reappearing, Su Zimo didn't stop. He used the 9 palace subtle steps, and as if he had crossed countless layers of space, he arrived at the entrance of the Treasure Pagoda and entered. After entering the Treasure Pagoda, the sense of danger disappeared instantly. It was only then that Su Zimo turned around. In the distance, he saw that the divine sense light between the eyebrows of an old man had yet to dissipate. He was looking in the direction that Su Zimo had left with his eyes wide open and a face full of shock, as if he couldn't believe it. In the air, there was a terrifying primordial spirit power. That was an immortal king-level primordial spirit attack. The essence spirit attack chased in the direction that Su Zimo left in. However, it was blocked by the restrictions of the Treasure Pagoda and vanished. If Su Zimo had been a step slower, he would have been killed by the old man's primordial spirit secret technique. Su Zimo was at the heavenly being realm and at the essence spirit realm. He was already at the paradise void realm. However, even if he released his 8 fangs god power and the power of his essence spirit increased, he could not break through to the grotto heaven realm and defend against the killing power of the essence spirit secret technique of the grotto heaven realm. In reality, the killing power of the essence spirit secret technique arrived instantly and was almost unavoidable. The reason why Su Zimo could escape this calamity was because his spirit perception warned him in advance. In other words, Su Zimo had already teleported away before the old man could release his essence spirit secret technique. The old man wanted to stop, but it was too late. Although the essence spirit secret technique was still chasing after Su Zimo, it was still a step too late and was blocked by the restrictions of the Treasure Pagoda. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible for an immortal king expert to not fail in killing a perfected immortal. As long as he released his massive spirit consciousness and locked onto Su Zimo, or used other methods to stall Su Zimo, the latter would not be able to escape or avoid his essence spirit secret technique. However, this was the celestial tribute world after all. The moment he released his spirit consciousness and locked onto Su Zimo, the celestial tribute world would not give him a second chance to attack. For example, if he failed to kill Su Zimo after releasing his essence spirit secret technique, he would be killed mercilessly by the celestial tribute world. Life and death were decided in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, a beam of light descended at an alarming speed and entered the old man's head in a flash. The old man's life force decreased, and his essence spirit was destroyed as he died on the spot. The next moment, an invisible force lifted the old man's corpse into the air before disappearing. Chapter 2807. On Skytribute Square. Shin Yu couldn't hold back his curiosity any longer. He looked at the sacred spirits nearby and cupped his fists. Excuse me, everyone. Can you tell us the details of the battle between our Peak Lord Su and Xiang Meng's group in the Fiend battlefield? The sacred spirits looked at Shin Yu and the others with strange expressions. Shin Yu coughed softly. We came a little late and didn't see the battle just now, so... Wang Dong, Gong Sun Yu, and the rest of the sword world looked at the sacred spirits with curiosity and anticipation. Even the Cold Eye Monarch and the Sky Eye clan pricked up their ears. They couldn't imagine how a celestial being true immortal could kill a supreme sacred spirit like Xiang Meng. One of the sacred spirits waved his hand. What battle? It was a one-sided massacre. Another true spirit also said with vicissitudes of emotion. That Peak Lord Su of yours is a ruthless person, carrying a sword and charging into the crowd. Like chopping melons and vegetables, he was annihilated by Xiang Meng's party. Huh? The sword world's people were stunned. This was completely different from what they had imagined. In their minds, Peak Lord Su Zhu had entered the Fiend battlefield alone and encountered Xiang Meng's group. It was bound to be an earth-shattering battle. Why did it sound like a child's play coming from the sacred spirits' mouths? How could a supreme sacred spirit be killed by Peak Lord Su Zhu's sword? Nonsense. The Cold Eye Monarch couldn't take it anymore. He roared. Xiang Meng is a supreme sacred spirit, and Su Zhu is just a celestial being. How could she kill Xiang Meng without help? That's the truth. The sacred spirit shrugged. The sacred spirits on the square all saw with their own eyes that Xiang Meng was killed by the Sword World Peak Lord. One of the dragons nodded. Xiang Meng's group was killed in a few breaths. It really wasn't a battle. In just a few breaths of time they were all dead. The Cold Eye Monarch's heart pounded. He almost couldn't breathe. Lu Yun, Yulan, and the other Peak Lords looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. In other words, Su Zimo had killed Xiang Meng without even revealing his Qinglian good fortune bloodline. Su Zimo's strength was even more terrifying than they had imagined. In the hearts of the four Peak Masters, they couldn't help but feel heartfelt admiration towards those old fellows from the sword world. Those old fellows had good foresight. In order to keep Su Zimo, they directly opened up a sword peak for him and made him the master of a peak. He was only at the celestial being stage, but he was already so powerful. If he was allowed to continue to grow, it was really unimaginable. Hee. At this moment, the Cold Eye Monarch suddenly laughed and became a little crazy. Lu Yun rolled his eyes at him. What? Are you that happy about the death of your Celestial Eye clan's true spirit? The Cold Eye Monarch shook his head and said meaningfully, I have to say, your Ninth Sword Peak Master is indeed a peerless genius, but as long as he's a genius, he will definitely be envied by the heavens. It's hard to guarantee that no disaster will befall him. Lu Yun narrowed his eyes slightly. He could faintly hear that the Cold Eye Monarch seemed to be implying something. There seems to be someone missing behind the Cold Eye Monarch. At this moment, Yulan suddenly said, Oh no. Lu Yun thought of a possibility and turned pale with fright. At the same time, the other three Peak Masters also realized this, and their expressions changed drastically. Without time to explain, Lu Yun was about to rush out of Skytribute Square. Right at this moment, a true spirit realm cultivator ran in with lingering fear and shouted, Something's happened outside. Lu Yun stopped in his tracks, his heart sinking, and his face instantly turning pale. The other three Peak Masters also had ugly expressions. When the Cold Eye Monarch heard this voice, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly with a smug smile. He looked at Lu Yun and the others and said faintly, What a pity, you're one step too late. What happened? Someone asked loudly. The true spirit glanced in the direction of the Celestial Eye clan and swallowed. Just now, a king of the Celestial Eye clan suddenly attacked the Ninth Sword Peak Master of the Sword World, and failed. Hearing these three words, the Cold Eye Monarch's smile froze on his face. For a moment, he even thought that he'd misheard. Still in disbelief, Lu Yun asked probingly, Fellow Taoist, did you just say that the king of the Celestial Eye world failed? Yes. The true spirit nodded. He's already been erased by the rules of the world of celestials. Even his corpse has disappeared. The cold-eye monarch clutched his chest, his body swaying, his face ashen. The four peak masters of Sword World's worry turned into joy, their anxious hearts finally settling down. The Celestial Eye World's move is too vicious. Their grudge with Sword World is growing deeper and deeper. I'm afraid it's impossible to resolve. A Grotto Heaven Realm King must have been prepared to die when he attacked the Sky Tribute World. Even that failed to kill the peak master of Sword World. This person is truly lucky. The Celestial Eye clan actually did such a despicable thing. How despicable? The Celestial Eye World really suffered a great loss this time. Not only did they lose a true spirit, but they also lost a Grotto Heaven Realm King. In the end, they didn't even touch a hair on the other party's head. Listening to the discussions around him, the Cold-Eye Monarch felt his vision darken, and his head grow heavy. The Celestial Eye World had suffered too great a loss this time. They'd lost all face. Lu Yun and the others recovered from their initial joy. Lu Yun no longer held back. Cold-Eye Monarch, you're truly despicable and shameless. How dare you send a king of the Celestial Eye clan to kill a true immortal of Sword World? The Cold-Eye Monarch took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. Yulan said coldly, Cold-Eye Monarch, your Celestial Eye clan broke the rules first. Don't blame Sword World for being unjust. Exactly. Feng Su looked around and said loudly, the true spirits of the various realms witnessed this. They can bear witness to this. The Cold-Eye Monarch said slowly, although I saw him leave, I had no idea what he was going to do. What's more, that old thing isn't even from my Heavenly Eye clan. His actions have nothing to do with my Heavenly Eye clan. The Cold-Eye Monarch knew he was in the wrong, and decided to deny it outright. If he'd succeeded in killing Su Zhu, it would have been fine. But now, the Celestial Eye World had suffered great losses. If word got out of hand, and Sword World retaliated, the Cold-Eye Monarch wouldn't be able to explain himself when he returned. Yulan snorted. Heh, you Celestial Eye clan are truly shameless. Lu Yun also snorted. Cold-Eye, don't think it's that easy for you to wash your hands clean. Even if that king isn't one of us, he's still one of you. That's right, the Cold-Eye Monarch said. The Cold-Eye Monarch said, your Sword World can take revenge on the other races in the Heavenly Eye World. My Heavenly Eye race will not care. But don't put this debt on the Heavenly Eye race. In truth, the Cold-Eye Monarch had thought of this before he'd sent the old man out. However, he hadn't expected that a Grotto Heaven Realm King would fail. Chapter 2808. The Cold-Eye King's shameless denial naturally drew murmurs from the sacred beasts around him. Though the sacred beasts were wary of the Celestial Eye clan's viciousness and vengeance, they didn't dare mock them without restraint. Still, they couldn't help but whisper and point. The Cold-Eye King's expression darkened. He didn't have the face to stay any longer, and left with the Celestial Eye clan without a word. Fearing that the Cold-Eye King would do something crazy again, Lu Yun, Yulan, and the rest of the Sword World cultivators hurriedly left for the Treasure Pagoda. The Cold-Eye King didn't stop after leaving Sky Tribute Square. He led the Celestial Eye clan out of Sky Tribute Island. Lord Cold-Eye. A Celestial Eye clan member clenched his fists in indignation. Are we leaving just like that? I can't take this lying down. That's right. When has our Heavenly Eye clan ever suffered such humiliation? If it were up to me, we'd send a message back right now, and have the top sacred beast of our clan, Xia rush over and kill the Lord of Ninth Sword Peak. The Cold-Eye King remained silent, his expression icy. After leaving the Sky Tribute World, the Cold-Eye King slowly said, those from Sword World are about to reach the end of their 10-day stay here. They'll leave soon. Even if we have Xia come now, it'll be too late. It'll be a wasted trip. Another Celestial Eye clan member spat. Lord Cold-Eye, are we just going to let this go? Of course not. The Cold-Eye Monarch's eyes were gloomy as he said in a low voice, remember, the blood of my Heavenly Eye clan will not be spilled in vain. One day, my Heavenly Eye clan will make those people from the Sword World pay the price. We will make Su Zhu pay with her blood. With that, the Cold-Eye King casually tore through the void, and led the Celestial Eye clan into a spatial tunnel, disappearing from the Sky Tribute World. On the first floor of the Treasure Pagoda, By the time everyone from Sword World found Su Zimo, he had just exchanged for the grand white mystic gold with the battle merits in his heaven bestowment badge. Brother Su, the Celestial Eye clan's immortal king attacked you just now. Are you alright? I'm fine. Su Zimo smiled, but didn't say anything else. He'd encountered countless life-threatening situations since he'd started cultivating. That was just one of them, so it was nothing to him. But the more he didn't say it, the more unfathomable he seemed in the eyes of the people of Sword World. Lu Yun, Yulan, and the other peak lords were fine. After all, they knew some of Su Zimo's background. As for Wang Dong, Gong Sunyu, and the others, the way they looked at Su Zimo had changed. In a few breaths, the Supreme True Spirits group of people was cut down like chopping melons and vegetables. Even under the all-out attack of an immortal king, he was completely unharmed. In everyone's eyes, this kind of battle record was simply an unimaginable miracle. In the beginning, although they were very respectful to Su Zimo and were very courteous, in the depths of their hearts, they did not approve of this outsider. Now, the way they looked at Su Zimo was not only with respect, but also with worship. Lin Xuanjin's expression remained the same, but a hint of curiosity flashed through his eyes. Peak Master Su. Shen Yu's expression was a little awkward, but he still went forward and bowed deeply to Su Zimo. Previously in the Fiend battlefield, I was blind and offended you. Please forgive me, Peak Master Su. It's nothing. Su Zimo waved his hand and said indifferently, I was also at fault. If I had insisted on staying by your side, you would have been fine. At the mention of this, Shen Yu and the others felt even more ashamed. Su Zimo turned his head and inadvertently met Lin Xuanjin's gaze. He paused for a moment and asked, How are you feeling? Better. Lin Xuanjin nodded slightly and went forward to bow. Thank you for saving my life, Peak Master. After a pause, Lin Xuanjin recalled the scene in the cave and felt ashamed. He whispered, Peak Master Su, previously I. Forget it. Su Zimo smiled indifferently and interrupted him. He took out a Fengtian token from his storage bag and handed it to Lin Xuanjin. This belongs to you. Lin Xuanjin received it and took a look. Her name was written on one side of the token. Initially, she was hunted down by Xiang Meng, and her Fengtian token was taken away by her. Now that Su Zimo took it back, it was returned to its rightful owner. Lin Xuanjin glanced at the back of the Fengtian token and saw that there were 1,000 battle merits on it. After her Fengtian token was taken away by Xiang Meng, the battle merits on it were also taken away by Xiang Meng. It was clear that Su Zimo was the one who transferred the 1,000 battle merits over later on. Peak Master, these battle merits. As soon as Lin Xuanjin opened his mouth, Su Zimo said, The 1,000 battle merits on it were originally yours. As for how many battle merits each of you has, I don't know. You can distribute them yourselves. Lin Xuanjin hurriedly said, I can't take these battle merits. That's right, Peak Master Su. Our battle merits were already taken away by Xiang Meng in the Fiend battlefield, Wang Dong said. No need to refuse. Su Zimo said, You risked your lives to come to the Fiend battlefield for the buried sword peak. Now that I have the profound white gold rock, I naturally have to return these 1,000 battle merits to you. Take it. Yulan nodded slightly and said with a smile, Brother Su is a peak master after all. How could he take advantage of you? Distribute these battle merits and see what you need. You can exchange them in the treasure pagoda. Hearing his master's words, Lin Xuanjin could not refuse anymore. He only looked deeply at Su Zimo before redistributing the battle merits in his heaven bestowment token to Wang Dong and the rest. Su Zimo said, I'll go to the second floor of the treasure pagoda to see if there are any other treasures. He originally had 5,300 battle merits in his heaven bestowment token. After exchanging 1,000 points for the profound white gold rock and giving another 1,000 points to Lin Xuanjin and the rest, he still had 3,000 left. When they came to the treasure pagoda in the 9 heavens, they were pressed for time and could only take a look at the first floor. Now that there was less than half a day left, they could take a look at the higher floors. The people of Sword World also followed Su Zimo up the stairs and entered the second floor of the treasure pagoda. After entering the second floor, there were clearly fewer people in the hall. After all, it was difficult for most true spirits to obtain more than 1,000 battle merits. Even if they came to the second floor, it was useless. The treasures on the second floor of the treasure pagoda required at least 1,000 battle merits. The upper limit was 2,000 points. The number of treasures on the second floor of the treasure pagoda did not decrease at all. There was a dazzling array of treasures: immortal pills, divine weapons, natural treasures, cultivation techniques, secret techniques, immortal gold ores, everything. Moreover, the treasures on the second floor were clearly more precious and rare than those on the first floor. Su Zimo even saw some immortal pills that had been lost in ancient eras, and many precious herbs and plants on the second floor of the treasure pagoda. Some herbs and plants had only appeared in a certain era and were now extinct. He did not expect to see them again in the treasure pagoda. Chapter 2809. Heavenly Dragon Lotus. At the end of level 2 of the treasure pagoda, Su Zimo stopped in front of a treasure chest and looked at a lotus within with a tempted expression. Even his Qinglian bloodline was stirring. Immortal King Ling Long had mentioned this lotus to him when he was in the Warring States period of the Azure Firmament Immortal Realm. The Heavenly Dragon Lotus was a lotus that grew in the Nine Heavens era. According to many ancient records, the Nine Heavens era was possibly the most ancient era. The great empress of that era was the creator of the art repository, the Nine Heavens Empress. Immortal King Ling Long had seen records of the Heavenly Dragon Lotus in the Nine Heavens Empress land of inheritance. Countless eras and hundreds of millions of years had passed since the Nine Heavens era. All living things in that era had long perished in the destruction of countless eras. Very few traces of them were left behind. Who would have thought that he would see a relatively complete Heavenly Dragon Lotus on the second floor of the treasure pagoda? Although this Nine Heavens Dragon Lotus had already withered, it was definitely a great tonic for the green lotus true body. Legend had it that when a living Heavenly Dragon Lotus bloomed, a divine dragon would be born in the center of the lotus. Su Zimo's gaze fell on the battle merit points exchanged from the treasure chest. 2,000 points. The Heavenly Dragon Lotus was one of the rarest and most precious treasures on the second floor of the treasure pagoda. Su Zimo pondered for a moment and didn't exchange for it immediately. Instead, he continued on to the third floor of the treasure pagoda. The range of treasures on the third floor was still very large. Whether it was spirit pills, wondrous medicines, or natural treasures, everything was included. Furthermore, on level 3 of the treasure pagoda, Su Zimo saw even more spirit items that were extinct in the past epochs. There was a 9 nether orchid that only grew in the 9 underworlds era, and it was still alive. Of course, this kind of precious plant required a lot of battle merit points. As the group from Sword World walked, they exclaimed from time to time. It was the first time for many of them to come to the third floor of the treasure pagoda. There were many treasures that even Lu Yin, Yu Lan, and the other peak masters had never heard of. Su Zimo walked forward, looking at the rare treasures one by one. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that the treasures here were all incomparably precious. Some of them even made him feel a burst of excitement. However, he had yet to find what he needed. After cultivating to the truth self realm, besides cultivation resources like elemental spirit stones, the most important thing for cultivators was to comprehend the heavens and earth, and to comprehend Tao techniques. Many true spirits often had sufficient cultivation resources, and the true qi in their bodies had already accumulated to the peak. However, if they were unable to comprehend the mysteries of their realms, they could only be stuck at the bottleneck, unable to advance any further. Especially the 2 realms after the true first realm, the void realm and the insightful emptiness realm, had extremely high requirements for a cultivator's comprehension of the Tao. So far, Su Zimo had already mastered 2 supreme divine abilities, the Immortal Slaying Sword and the 8 Fangs Divine Power. As a matter of fact, he still had a few mystical abilities that he had cultivated to the quasi-supreme mystical ability level. There were some supreme divine abilities, such as the Fleeting Youth, the 6 Paths of Reincarnation, and the 4 Heads and 8 Arms. Given his talent and the opportunities he had encountered, he would have a high chance of comprehending them over time. However, there were some supreme divine abilities, and even some Tao techniques that he could not comprehend. Including the Taboo Secret Manual, the Perfection of Nirvana Sutra, there were 3 secret skills. Up till now, he had only comprehended the impermanence of actions. There were 2 more after that, the Anatta Dharma and Nirvana Silence. He could not comprehend them at all. However, if he could comprehend Buddhism to its limits and fuse the secret skills of the dragons and elephants, he would be able to raise the level of the Buddhas, dragons, and elephants to the level of supreme divine abilities. Every single supreme divine ability that was comprehended would result in a qualitative leap and improvement for cultivators. Comprehending supreme divine abilities meant that the power of supreme divine abilities would descend and cleanse the body, bloodline, and essence spirit, allowing the cultivator to be reborn. At the same time, after comprehending a supreme divine ability and fusing the Tao technique into the Tao fruit, the cultivator's Tao fruit would become even stronger, and their cultivation would increase exponentially. The stronger the Tao fruit, the stronger the grotto heaven formed in the future. Su Zimo searched as he watched. Finally, his eyes lit up, and he took a few brisk steps forward, arriving before a treasure chest. Within the treasure chest was a stone the size of a baby's fist. It was golden, round, and crystal clear without any impurities, as it emitted a faint golden glow. A Arhat relic. Furthermore, it was the relic of a supreme Arhat. In the Buddhist sects, true self-realm cultivators were known as Arhats, and the Tao fruit of an Arhat was a relic. For Su Zimo, the most direct way to continue comprehending the Tao of the Buddhist monasteries was to look for a Luohan relic. Only by observing the relic and comprehending the Buddhist Tao techniques within it, and verifying them with what he had learned, would he be able to comprehend something. Among all the Arhat relic, the relic of a supreme Arhat was undoubtedly the most precious, because in the Sarira of the supreme Arhat, there must be a kind of supreme divine ability. If it was the supreme divine ability of the Buddhas, dragons, and elephants, it would be of the greatest help to Su Zimo. Supreme Arhat relic. He murmured softly when he walked over and saw the relic. Without hesitation, Su Zimo placed the token of providence in the groove of the treasure chest, and spent a total of 3,000 battle merits to exchange for the supreme Arhat relic. What a pity! Su Zimo frowned slightly. Upon closer inspection, he discovered that there were 2 fine cracks on the relic. If a Tao fruit had a crack, it meant that the Tao arts contained within it might be incomplete, which would affect a cultivator's comprehension. Actually, there are some perfectly preserved supreme true spirit Tao fruits on the 5th floor of the treasure pagoda, Lu Yun said. However, the supreme true spirit Tao fruits that are still in good condition require 5,000 battle merits to exchange for them. That's a lot. Su Zimo clicked his tongue inwardly. Actually, the most important thing to exchange for a supreme true spirit Tao fruit is to comprehend the supreme combat arts contained within, Lu Yun said. But in reality, even if you obtain a supreme true spirit Tao fruit, you won't necessarily be able to comprehend the combat arts contained within. Su Zimo nodded. Talent, opportunity, fortune, time, accumulation, opportunity, karma, and many other factors were required to comprehend a supreme combat art. Not a single one could be missing. If one could comprehend a supreme ability just by relying on the Tao fruit of a supreme true spirit, then there would be supreme true spirits everywhere. The reason this supreme Arhat's Tao fruit is on the 3rd floor of the treasure pagoda is because it's flawed. Don't be fooled by the fact that 2 tiny cracks cost 2,000 battle merits. Not only are there supreme true spirit Tao fruits on the 5th floor, but also 9th tribulation spirit treasures. Every 9th tribulation spiritual treasure requires 5,000 battle credits. Chapter 28:10. After redeeming the supreme Arhat relic, Su Zimo did not have many battle merits left. He only had slightly more than 300 points. He returned to the 1st floor of the treasure pagoda and spent another 100 points to exchange for an ordinary Tao fruit from the elephant race. To comprehend the dragons and Buddhas, One had to learn as much as possible about their combat arts and secret arts as they could. Su Zimo's cultivation of the elephant race's Tao originated from the divine elephant breath devouring method and his combat arts, which was why he'd exchanged for a Tao fruit from the elephant race. Lin Xuanjin, Wang Dong, and the others strolled around the treasure pagoda, not exchanging for anything. They all had the same idea, which was to save up their battle merits and exchange them for better treasures the next time they came to the Celestial Tribute Realm. After depositing their tokens in the Celestial Tribute Pavilion, they left the island and headed out of the Celestial Tribute World. Although Lin Xuanjin, Wang Tong and the others didn't exchange for any treasures on this trip to the Celestial Realm, they felt that their Taoism had become more profound, and their combat strength had improved after a few days of fighting in the demonic battlefield. Lin Xuanjin's near-death experience had improved his understanding of the immortal eradication sword, and he was only a hair's breadth away from enlightenment. Of course, Su Zimo was the one who'd benefited the most. Not only had he obtained the Supreme Arhat relic, the Elephant Tao fruit, and the 10 heavenly eyes from the Celestial Eye clan, but he'd also obtained them. Among them, Xiang Meng's heavenly eye contained a supreme combat art. If Su Zimo could fully comprehend the 10 heavenly eyes, the Supreme Arhat relic, and the Elephant Tao fruit, he could very well ascend to the Kongming realm. After leaving the Celestial Tribute World, he summoned the Immortal Boat and took everyone back to the Sword World. Su Zimo looked thoughtfully at the Celestial Tribute World behind him. The Celestial Tribute World was unfathomably deep, as if shrouded in a perpetual mist. 10 days had passed. If he wanted to come to the Celestial Tribute Realm again, he would have to wait 1,000 years. On the boat, Lu Yan seemed to have read Su Zimo's mind. "Brother Su," he said seriously, "you shouldn't come here until you've reached the Dongxi realm." "What do you mean?" Su Zimo asked. "We've been at odds with the Celestial Eye clan since the Battle of the 7-Star Sword Realm. You killed Xiang Meng today, and even lost a king from the Celestial Eye world. With the Heavenly Eye clan's vengeful nature, they will definitely not let this matter rest. Previously, the Cold Eye King did not hesitate to sacrifice a king in exchange for a life in the Celestial Tribute World. Who knows what crazy things he will do in the future?" Yulan nodded and said, "Exactly. Moreover, the number 1 true spirit of the Celestial Eye clan, Xia Yin, is much stronger than Xiang Meng. As far as I know, Xia Yin might have comprehended 2 supreme divine abilities. After comprehending a supreme divine ability, one could be called a supreme true spirit and leave one's name on the jade tablet. If Xia Yin had comprehended 2 supreme divine abilities, his battle strength would be unimaginable." Su Zimo nodded. "No wonder he's first on the jade tablet. He does have some tricks up his sleeve." Su Zimo seemed to be praising Xia Yin, but he'd said it casually and in a nonchalant tone. Seeing that Su Zimo didn't seem to take the compliment to heart, Yulan reminded him. "Moreover, Xia Yin's supreme divine ability is the 6 paths of reincarnation. There weren't many supreme divine abilities, and only a dozen or so were known to exist. The power of each kind of supreme divine ability had a different manifestation. For example, space-time imprisonment had almost no offensive power and only limited the opponent's movements. The 6 paths of reincarnation, on the other hand, was definitely the most offensive of the many supreme divine abilities." "Oh." Su Zimo raised an eyebrow. It had been many years since anyone had comprehended the 6 paths of reincarnation to the extreme and reached the level of a supreme combat art. Xia Yin's mastery of the 6 paths of reincarnation was indeed surprising. Seeing that Su Zimo seemed to have taken it seriously, Yulan explained that Xia Yin was born with a pair of yin-yang eyes. It's said that during one of his Tao enlightenment, he coincidentally activated his yin-yang eyes and unintentionally broke through the boundary between yin and yang, catching a glimpse of the outline of the 6 paths of reincarnation in the netherworld. Then he probably didn't see it as clearly as I did." Su Zimo murmured softly. "What did you say?" Yulan asked reflexively, not having heard Su Zimo's murmur. "Nothing." Su Zimo didn't explain. Xia Yin had only caught a glimpse of the 6 paths of reincarnation, while he'd been standing in front of the 6 paths of reincarnation in the netherworld. No matter what, since we've obtained the ore, let's not go to the celestial bestowment realm for now. Su Zimo didn't comment. The danger they were worried about was only one of his concerns. However, there was something else that Su Zimo was worried about. For him, the safest place was the Sword World. With more than 10 great emperors overseeing the realm, they could nip any danger in the bud. However, there were still many treasures in the Celestial Bestowment Pavilion that piqued his interest. He'd have to wait for the right time to trade for them. After returning, those in the Sword World either gathered together to chat or cultivated alone in their rooms. Su Zimo belonged to the latter group. One day, he was studying the Tao of a celestial eye when footsteps sounded outside his door. The visitor hesitated for a long while before knocking lightly on the door. "Peak Lord Su, this one is Lin Xuanjin, and wishes to see you. Come in." Su Zimo responded. Lin Xuanjin pushed open the door and walked up to Su Zimo. He bowed respectfully and said, "I've heard that you've long since grasped immortal eradication, Peak Lord. I'd like to seek your guidance." "All right." Su Zimo smiled and agreed without hesitation. If this had happened in the past, Lin Xuanjin would never have sought out Su Zimo, a true immortal at the celestial realm. But now, Su Zimo had saved her life and displayed unparalleled strength in the fiendish battlefield. Finally, the former #1 true immortal of the Sword World was willing to set aside her pride and ask for guidance. Su Zimo stretched out his hand and summoned 3 strands of sword energy in his palm with a thought. They surged with murderous intent. The supreme combat art of immortal eradication originates from a wondrous book. The 3 sentences inside are the quintessence of immortal eradication. As the saying goes, the heavens emit murderous intent. Su Zimo had been able to grasp immortal eradication so quickly not only because of his talent in Sword Tao, but also because he possessed the Yin Talisman. More importantly, he possessed the Yin Yang Talisman scripture. Using the Tao techniques in this wondrous book to verify the 3 sentences of the Zhu Xian sword was naturally a matter of course. Su Zimo dissected the Tao of the Yin Talisman and displayed it in the form of Sword Tao in front of Lin Xuanjin. He integrated it into the 3 great sword arts and finally formed immortal eradication. Lin Xuanjin watched the whole process, and the brilliance in her eyes grew brighter and brighter. Finally, at a certain moment, a flash of inspiration flashed through her mind. It was as if she had been enlightened, and all the bottlenecks were solved. Chapter 28:11. Lin Xuanjin's eyes were closed as killing intent gathered within her, becoming purer and purer. A crimson longsword materialized behind her, becoming more and more tangible. A terrifying supreme power descended upon her body and began to cleanse her flesh and blood. Success! Su Zimo nodded slightly at the woman in front of him. Lin Xuanjin was indeed very talented in Sword Tao. He'd only given a few pointers, but Lin Xuanjin had grasped the crux of the matter and grasped the true essence of Ultis. Although Lin Xuanjin wasn't his disciple, he hadn't held back in his teachings. From this day forth, the world of Sword Tao had gained yet another true spirit. The commotion in the room immediately alerted Lu Yun, Yu Lan, and the other Peak Lords. The 4 of them immediately arrived outside Su Zimo's room. "It looks like Lin Xuanjin has already grasped Ultis. We'll stand guard here for her. The way I see it, we don't need to do anything. Didn't you notice whose room Lin Xuanjin is in? Xuanjin has been looking for a Tao partner all these years. I think Brother Su is a good choice. There's a difference in seniority, as long as they're around the same age." The 4 Peak Lords gradually disappeared into the distance, their conversation fading away as well. Su Zimo's expression was calm as he closed his eyes and rested. Across from him, Lin Xuanjin's cheeks were unusually rosy, perhaps because Ultis's combat arts had cleansed her bloodline and body too fiercely. The whole process lasted for half a day before Lin Xuanjin gradually recovered as before. Although her cultivation was still at the Dongshu realm and hadn't improved much, her essence, qi, and spirit seemed to have more than doubled. After the baptism of a supreme combat art, Her battle strength had also risen to a new level. Thank you for your guidance, Peak Lord. Lin Xuanjin bowed again to Su Zimo. No need for such courtesy. Su Zimo inclined his head with a smile. Lin Xuanjin stood in place, as if he had thought of something. He wanted to say something, but hesitated. Anything else? Su Zimo asked. Lin Xuanjin pondered for a while and asked casually. Peak Master, do you know anything about the way of the absolute sword that I cultivate? I know a little about it. Su Zimo nodded and said, it is to use the heart of the sword to sever the 7 emotions and 6 desires, to cut off the roiling world of mortals, and to achieve a state of transcendence, and not attachment to external things. Lin Xuanjin nodded and added, when we cultivate the path of the absolute sword, we don't really cut off our emotions and desires. It's only when we're in the state of the absolute sword that we don't care about external things. Yes. Su Zimo's expression was calm as he lowered his eyes. A trace of disappointment flashed across Lin Xuanjin's eyes, but he quickly recovered and said in a low voice, Peak Master Su, I'll take my leave. Su Zimo only looked up at Lin Xuanjin's back when he left. He was calm and continued to comprehend the Dao technique. A few days later, the people of the sword world finally returned. Su Zimo brought the thousands of sword cultivators who survived the 7-star sword world back to Burial Sword Peak. At the same time, he placed the grand white-black gold rock into Burial Sword Peak. Burial Sword Peak looked no different from before. It only had a few thousand more ordinary disciples, and Meng Hao, a perfected immortal. It was far from the strength of the other 8 sword peaks. However, ever since the people of the sword world returned from the celestial tribute world, all the sword cultivators vaguely felt that Burial Sword Peak seemed to be different from before. However, they still did not know the reason. As time passed, the things that happened in the celestial tribute world continued to ferment and gradually spread in the sword world. Many sword cultivators realized how terrifying the Burial Sword Peak Master was. This matter not only spread in the sword world, but also in many realms. Before this, only a small number of realms knew that the sword world had given birth to a 9th sword peak master. After the battle in the celestial tribute world, many realms knew that the 9th sword peak master was a ruthless person. After returning from the celestial tribute world, Lin Xuanjin, Wang Dong, Gong Sunyu, and a few other top sword cultivators of the major sword peaks often went to Burial Sword Peak to listen to Su Zimo's lectures. Even Yin Ting came a few times. In fact, since the establishment of Burial Sword Peak, Su Zimo would give lectures every once in a while. However, it was extremely quiet under Burial Sword Peak. Almost no one came to listen to his lectures. Half of the perfected immortals of the major sword peaks had cultivation levels higher than Su Zimo. Who would care about his lectures? However, as the news of the battle in the celestial tribute world spread, more and more sword cultivators came to listen to the lectures under the Burial Sword Peak's lecture platform. Most importantly, every sword cultivator felt that they had benefited greatly after listening to the lectures. Although Su Zimo's cultivation realm was only at the heavenly being stage, he had once received the teachings of the great Emperor of all heaven, and possessed many forbidden mystic manuals. As such, his understanding of the Tao of the sword was far beyond his peers. Of course, for Su Zimo, the most important thing for the next period of time was to comprehend Tao techniques and divine abilities. In the blink of an eye, 300 years had passed. Su Zimo comprehended another supreme divine ability, 4 heads and 8 arms. This supreme divine ability originated from his 99 heavenly tribulations. He experienced the power of the 4 heads and 8 arms divine ability. No one could comprehend this supreme divine ability more easily than him. After being baptized by the power of the 4 heads and 8 arms divine ability, Qinglian's bloodline, body, and primordial spirit improved again. Her cultivation level also improved. In the 800th year, Su Zimo finally comprehended the 6 paths of reincarnation. The supreme divine ability of the 6 paths of reincarnation passed through her body. Even the 12th stage creation Qinglian's body almost couldn't withstand it. It collapsed several times before recovering again. After 6 consecutive collapses and recovery, Qinglian's body was reborn. Her body was shrouded in an even more mysterious aura, as if she had jumped out of the cycle of reincarnation. In the 1000th year, Su Zimo comprehended the supreme Arhat relic, and finally comprehended the second secret technique of the Prajna Nirvana Sutra. The true essence of the so-called non-self state was to put self in the state of emptiness. This was the state of non-self, where all laws couldn't touch the body. And the comprehension of emptiness, in this secret technique, was just right for the Kongming stage of the True One stage. In Xiang Meng's heavenly eye, the space-time imprisonment also contained the understanding of emptiness. As a result, Su Zimo's cultivation in the celestial being stage skyrocketed. He even touched the barrier of the Kongming stage, and could break through at any time. After a short year, due to the improvement in his attainments in Buddhism, coupled with the Tao techniques of the dragon and elephant race, Su Zimo finally pushed the might of the Buddha dragon elephant to its limits and reached the level of a supreme divine power. The supreme divine ability of Buddhism descended and baptized Qinglian's body again. With the help of this divine ability, Su Zimo directly broke through the bottleneck and stepped into the Kongming stage. Normally speaking, when one cultivated to the True One stage, no matter how strong one's talent was, or how abundant the resources were, one's cultivation speed would slow down. For example, Yun Ting had already stepped into the True One stage, but after 1,000 years, he still hadn't stepped into the celestial being stage. It was the same for Kitsune, and Su Zimo was able to step into the Kongming stage in just 1,000 years because he had comprehended 3 supreme divine abilities and a forbidden secret technique. The appearance of the 3 supreme mystical powers alone was enough to change the Green Lotus true body and raise the cultivation level of the cultivator. Moreover, with the comprehension of the Kongming stage and the huge amount of cultivation resources, Su Zimo stepped into the Kongming stage naturally. Chapter 28:12. 1,000 years had passed, and Su Zimo could enter the celestial tribute domain again. However, the time was not right yet. If he rashly went to the celestial tribute domain, he might encounter great danger. And this danger did not only come from the heavenly eye race. For 1,000 years, Su Zimo would try to establish contact with Wu Dao's original body every once in a while during his cultivation. However, there was no response. It had been 2,000 years since the last time the 2 true bodies separated in the underworld. There was only one explanation for this situation. Wu Dao's original body had not returned to the upper realm, because the 2 true bodies were in 2 independent worlds, separated by a powerful realm barrier. They could not contact each other. Wu Dao's original body had followed the Void Yiksha into the Ghost Dao for 2,000 years, but he had not returned to the upper realm. No one knew what had happened. According to the Void Yiksha, the Ghost Dao was an independent world on par with the upper realm. The Ghost Dao was different from the Hell Dao. The Ghost Dao was flawless, and its laws were complete. Not only were there Emperor Realm experts, but there was also a terrifying existence like the Brahma Ghost Mother, who was very likely to be a great emperor. Although Wu Dao's original body had stepped into the martial domain realm, it was only a small success. In terms of battle strength, it could suppress all Grotto Heaven Realm kings, but it would be difficult for him to win against a quasi-emperor. With the Prison Suppression Cauldron, Soul Lamp, and Netherworld Treasure Mirror, he might be able to fight against a quasi-emperor. In the Ghost Dao, there were too many experts who could threaten Wu Dao's original body. Su Zimo sighed softly, refocused his mind, and continued to cultivate with Wu Dao. No matter what Wu Dao's original body experienced in the Ghost Dao, he could not do anything. He could only rely on Wu Dao's original body to deal with it. Wu Dao's original body jumped into the Ghost Dao. His body was completely out of control. He only felt the world spinning, as if he had fallen into a huge vortex, and instantly lost his 5 senses. He could not even feel the passage of time. Only a little of his spiritual sense remained, allowing him to judge that he had not encountered any danger. The Void Yiksha was right beside him. Its entire body was curled up, and its eyes were closed. Its entire body was curled up like an infant. The 2 of them couldn't communicate, nor could they use their divine sense to communicate. They could only let nature take its course and go with the flow. It was a wonderful feeling. Wu Dao's main body relied on what little spiritual sense he had left to perceive the outside world, as much as possible. He felt as if he was in the river of time. It wasn't darkness in front of him, but a colorful scene. In this reincarnation cycle, his body, origin spirit, and every drop of blood seemed to be separated from his body and disappeared into the void. After an unknown period of time, Wu Dao's main body seemed to have passed through a body of water, and the feeling of being peeled away from him suddenly disappeared. Wu Dao's main body did his best to control his body, and his 5 senses were gradually recovering. Wu Dao's main body took a deep breath and suddenly opened his eyes. The surroundings were dark, and the world was filled with a kind of cold heaven-earth yuan qi. It seemed a little gloomy, and there was no light at all. Of course, this kind of darkness didn't affect the eyesight of Wu Dao's main body. The void yiksha next to him also gradually recovered. It stretched its body, moved its muscles, and looked at the surrounding environment. There was a faint trace of excitement in the depths of its eyes. This is the ghost realm. The void yiksha was all too familiar with the surrounding environment. The infernal court is filled with a large amount of nether qi, and the ghost realm is this kind of ghost qi. Wu Dao's main body nodded. Whether it was ghost qi or nether qi, they were all based on heaven-earth yuan qi. However, the energy inside each was different. How long have we been traveling in the 6 paths of reincarnation? Wu Dao's main body frowned and asked, "Why does it feel like more than 1,000 years?" "Of course it's possible," the void yiksha said. "The path we took to enter the ghost realm is through the 6 paths of reincarnation, and the 6 paths of reincarnation is originally a path for souls to reincarnate. We are living beings with flesh and blood. When we pass through the 6 paths of reincarnation, the resistance is great. It can take hundreds or even thousands of years." Wu Dao's main body pondered and did not speak. They went from the infernal court to the underworld. Although they also crossed 2 independent worlds, the infernal court and the underworld were connected by the hell Acheron after all. Therefore, at the place where they were connected, they directly broke through the realm barrier and directly crossed the 2 realms. The underworld and the ghost realm were not connected. The 2 of them entered the ghost realm from the underworld and walked through the 6 paths of reincarnation. That was why they kept drifting in the reincarnation. They did not know how long it took for them to descend into the ghost realm. According to what you said before, the ghost realm, hell realm, Ashura realm, and beast realm are all independent worlds that give birth to different races of living beings. In other words, whichever passage you jump into from the entrance of the 6 paths of reincarnation, you will descend into that world. Wu Dao's main body asked, "Then what are the human realm and the heavenly realm? Are they also 2 independent worlds?" "I don't think so." The void yiksha shook its head and said, "I don't know about the human realm and the heavenly realm." Wu Dao's main body frowned slightly. This was strange. According to the rules of the 6 paths of reincarnation, there should be 6 independent worlds, but the human realm and the heavenly realm were different from the other 4? If the essence of the 6 paths was the same, what kind of world was it in the human realm and the heavenly realm? And what kind of living beings were born in it? Could it be that in the human realm, there were only ordinary humans? What was in the heavenly realm? The 6 paths of reincarnation seemed to be shrouded in a layer of fog, making it impossible to see clearly. The underworld, the 6 paths of reincarnation, the river Styx, what did these have to do with the 3,000 realms? Or rather, what did they have to do with the upper-class world? Just as Wu Dao's main body was pondering, the void yiksha seemed to be a little impatient and urged, "Let's go. Let's hurry up and help you return to the medium-class world." Wu Dao's main body remained calm on the surface, but a trace of vigilance suddenly appeared in his heart. This void yiksha had committed a great crime in the ghost realm, and was exiled to the river Styx by the Brahma ghost's mother. Now that he had returned to his old haunt, he should have some scruples. However, this void yiksha not only did not have any timidity, but instead revealed a trace of excitement. The yiksha clan was not a kind race. Back in the Bitter Spring prison, Wu Dao's main body had saved this void Yiksha. Not only did he not have the slightest bit of gratitude, he even wanted to kill Wu Dao's main body. In the end, it was Wu Dao's main body who relied on his powerful strength to suppress him, and this void Yiksha bowed down and submitted. Moreover, he promised to help Wu Dao's main body return to the medium-class world. Later, after entering the underworld, this void Yiksha had always been obedient beside Wu Dao's main body. Wu Dao's main body gradually let down his guard. Now, the emotions that this void Yiksha inadvertently revealed once again made Wu Dao's main body vigilant. The Yiksha clan was ferocious and cunning. It was not surprising that they would break their promise. Wu Dao's main body did not rashly make a move. This was the ghost realm, which was too unfamiliar to him. Since he had already come here, there was no way out. He could only try his best to inquire about the situation of the ghost realm from this void Yiksha, find a way to return to the medium-class world, and then act according to the circumstances. Stuck, change the map, let me sort it out. End of this chapter. Chapter 28:13. The void Yiksha looked around and tore open a spatial tunnel. He turned around and said, "Follow me." Wu Dao's main body was calm, as if he didn't suspect anything. He took a step forward and followed behind the void Yiksha. At this distance, Wu Dao's main body could guarantee that if anything happened, he would be able to suppress this void Yiksha immediately. "Where are we going?" Wu Dao's main body asked casually. "The Nine Nether Abyss." The void Yiksha replied. A thought flashed through Wu Dao's main body's mind. The Nine Nether Abyss? I wonder if the Nine Nether Abyss has anything to do with the former Nine Nether Emperor? Before Wu Dao's main body could ask, the void Yiksha explained. The ghost world can be divided into two major ghost realms, separated by the Nine Nether Abyss. On one side is our Yiksha ghost realm, which is divided into 8 realms ruled by 8 Yikshas. These 8 Yikshas are all the arch-experts, and were personally bestowed titles by Lady Ghost's mother. "What title do you have?" Wu Dao's main body asked. The void Yiksha smacked his lips and said, "Although I'm a void Yiksha, I haven't cultivated to the arch realm. How can I be qualified to be given a title by Lady Ghost's mother? Lady Ghost's mother only gave me a title Ugly Slave." Ugly Slave, this title is really casual. It seems that this void Yiksha is really insignificant to the Brahma Ghost's mother. Wu Dao's main body thought. The void Yiksha continued. On the other side of the Nine Nether Abyss is the Rakshasa ghost realm. There are 10 realms ruled by 10 Rakshasas. Wu Dao's main body's expression changed. Rakshasa ghost realm? Wu Dao's main body suddenly asked. Is the Rakshasa race in the Rakshasa ghost realm? That's right. The void Yiksha nodded. As expected, when Qinglian's main body was in the divine firmament immortal realm, she had entered a Shura battlefield to help Xie Qingqing obtain the Duke Seal. It was there that Qinglian came into contact with the Yiksha tribe for the first time. The first time he saw the Yiksha tribe, he thought of the Rakshasa tribe. He felt that the two tribes were somehow related. Unexpectedly, the Rakshasa tribe and the Yiksha tribe were both from the Hungry Ghost realm. No wonder there were Yiksha and Rakshasa. In fact, the names of these two races had already revealed their origins. The Rakshasa race was one of the primordial 9 races in Tianhuang mainland. However, in the 3,000 worlds, there was no world where the Rakshasa lived. Unexpectedly, they were hidden in the Hungry Ghost realm, one of the 6 paths. Wu Dao's true body asked again. The 10 Rakshasa maidens you mentioned earlier should also be imperial emperors, right? Not bad. The void Yiksha said. Of course there are more than 18 imperial emperors in the 2 ghost regions. There are even more. As it spoke, the void Yiksha turned to look at Wu Dao's true body. However, Wu Dao's true body was wearing a silver mask and no emotions could be seen. Only a pair of eyes that were as deep as the sea were emotionless. In fact, the situation in the ghost realm was indeed troublesome for Wu Dao's true body. Up until now, he was at the lesser mastery of the martial domain realm, and invincible in the grotto heaven realm. Only by using treasures such as the hell-suppressing cauldron could he have a chance of fighting against a quasi-emperor. Back then there were 3 quasi-emperors in hell. Although he killed one of them, He was injured by the remaining two quasi-emperors. His blood stimulated the netherworld treasure mirror, and he killed another quasi-emperor before he completely subdued hell. The battle in the netherworld was a special situation. That was because the soul lamp was extremely harmful to the soul. That was why he could rely on the soul lamp to fight against the Emperor Realm experts in the netherworld. The situation in the ghost realm was completely different from the netherworld and hell. Firstly, there were many imperial emperors in the ghost realm. Secondly, these imperial emperors, such as the Wuxia and Rakshasa races, had bodies of flesh and blood to protect them. The soul lamp did not pose much of a threat to them. Perhaps, only the netherworld treasure mirror could threaten the imperial emperors in the ghost realm. The netherworld treasure mirror required a large amount of blood essence, and it was also extremely harmful to Wu Dao's true body. It was a method that harmed the enemy by 1,000, but also oneself by 800. Of course, if it really came to that, even if Wu Dao's true body had to sacrifice his blood essence, he would still have to use the netherworld treasure mirror to kill 1 or 2 imperial emperors in the ghost realm. The two of them traveled through the space tunnel for more than half a day before descending again. Originally, the ghost realm was completely dark. However, in front of the place where the two of them landed, a dark green light that spanned across the void appeared, as if it had divided the ghost realm into two. The void Wuxia pointed ahead with an excited expression and said, "The 9 abyss is in front of us. The void nearby is chaotic and distorted, so we can't pass through it. Let's just walk over. Can we return to the medium-class world from the 9 abyss?" Wu Dao's true body asked. "Of course," the void Wuxia said with great certainty. Wu Dao's true body asked again, "How do we return?" The void Wuxia hesitated for a moment before grinning and saying, "You'll know when we get there." Wu Dao's true body did not speak anymore. He only looked at the void Wuxia's back with a faint gaze. He was almost certain that this void Wuxia was plotting something else. This void Wuxia had been imprisoned in the bitter spring prison for countless years. He had been soaked in the bitter spring of hell all year round, and his flesh had rotted away. He had endured endless torture and pain, but he had never given in. Now this void Wuxia had only been suppressed by him once, but he had taken the initiative to bring him here. It was a little abnormal. The two of them, one in front and one behind, walked towards the green brilliance ahead. As the two of them approached, Wu Dao's true body felt that the ghost qi around him was getting denser and denser. It gradually turned cold and seeped into his body through his pores. However, his bloodline was like scorching lava. This kind of cold qi could not affect him at all. After taking a few more steps, Wu Dao's true body frowned slightly. The cold qi was becoming more and more obvious. Not only that, the surroundings were shrouded in an evil intent that caused one's mind to be in chaos and illusions to appear. It was as though countless ghostly figures were pouncing towards him. Wu Dao's true body stabilized his Dao heart, and 2 balls of purple flames appeared in his eyes. All the evil thoughts and illusions vanished instantly. The void Wuxia in front turned back to take a look. When he saw that Wu Dao's true body was moving freely, as though he was not affected at all, he was slightly stunned. However, he quickly concealed it and returned to normal. Right then, Wu Dao's true body turned and looked at the ground not far away. There were patches of orchids that shone with a dim light growing there. 9 nether orchids. These plants should have grown in the 9 nether era. After countless eras, they had long gone extinct. To think that he would see so many of them here. This place was called the 9 nether abyss, and it had plants that grew in the 9 nether era. Could it be that this place was really related to the legendary 9 nether emperor? Wu Dao's true body was not interested in the 9 nether orchid. However, to Qinglian's true body, the 9 nether orchid was definitely a rare tonic. End of chapter. Chapter 28:14. Wu Dao waved his hand and uprooted the 9 serenity orchid in front of him. Dirt flew everywhere, and the surrounding ground trembled slightly. "What are you doing?" The movement behind him startled the void Wuxia. When he saw what Wu Dao was doing, he couldn't help but growl. "This is not the infernal court. You don't have the right to do whatever you want. If you alert the elites of my tribe, you won't be able to leave here alive. Oh, Wu Dao's expression was indifferent. He kept the 9 Serenity Orchid in his bag unmoved. From what he could sense, the commotion here had already alerted many living beings. Powerful auras were awakening one after another. Cracks appeared in the darkness, and tall figures emerged from them. They exuded a terrifying aura. They were all kings of the Wuxia tribe. Roar! Roar! Ear-piercing screams came from the surroundings again. In the darkness, countless Wuxias were rushing toward this place. The aura of a human. The Wuxia kings sniffed the air, and instantly locked their eyes on Wu Dao's body. Their scarlet tongues licked their lips and drooled, like hungry ghosts that had just been released from their cages. At the same time, the leader of the Wuxia tribe noticed the Void Wuxia. His expression changed, and killing intent appeared on his face. He shouted, "Ugly slave, you're not dead." The Void Wuxia's heart sank as he hurriedly explained. "Brother Yi, the reason why I was able to survive was because I went through a lot and escaped death. I came back this time to see Lord Ghost's mother. You've committed a heinous crime. You don't deserve to see Lord Ghost's mother." The leader of the Wuxia tribe shouted and interrupted. "Lord Ghost's mother is now hibernating. How dare you bring a human into the ghost realm? You have evil intentions, and your crime is unforgivable." The Void Wuxia was anxious. He glanced at Wu Dao's body with fear and suddenly said, "Brother Yi, this is a misunderstanding. I brought this human to Lord Ghost's mother to atone for my crime. This human's identity is far from ordinary. He's the Lord of Hell. There are many treasures on him as well." The leader of the Wuxia tribe sneered and looked at Wu Dao. He said disdainfully, "Him? Lord of Hell?" "Absolutely," the Void Wuxia hurriedly said. It was indeed incomprehensible for a human from a medium-class realm to become the Lord of Hell. However, this was something that he had witnessed with his own eyes. After a short pause, the leader of the Wuxia tribe spoke again in the Void Wuxia's mind. "Ugly slave, even if you are right, why should I give you the credit? Your life, I'll take it. I want his life too." Before he could finish his sentence, the Wuxia leader waved his hand and said coldly, "Kill them." The Void Wuxia's heart sank. The situation he was most worried about had happened. He wanted to secretly bring Wu Dao's body to the River of Life to meet Lord Ghost's mother. He wanted to avoid being hunted down by the other members of the Wuxia tribe. At the same time, he wanted to offer Wu Dao's body to Lord Ghost's mother to atone for his crime. However, he did not expect Wu Dao's unintentional actions to expose the two of them and completely disrupted his plan. Moreover, if Lord Ghost's mother was hibernating, even if he reached the River of Life, he would not be able to see Lord Ghost's mother. Other than the leader of the Wuxia tribe, who was a Void Wuxia, the rest of the Wuxias were from the 3 most common branches of the Wuxia tribe: Earth Wuxia, Sky Wuxia, and Water Wuxia. These Wuxias were like hungry wolves. In their eyes, Wu Dao's body was like a fragrant lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Hearing the leader's order, the Wuxias could no longer hold back. They bared their sharp fangs and screamed excitedly. Then, they pounced on Wu Dao's body. Wu Dao's body was fearless. The blood in his body burned, and a crimson halo burst out. It exploded and formed a huge flame domain. Wu Dao's purgatory. The two sides were close to the 9th underworld abyss. Wu Dao's body had no intention of testing the Wuxia tribe's strength. He released a powerful domain to burn all the Wuxia tribe's kings. When the Wuxia tribe's kings got close, they were enveloped by Wu Dao's purgatory. They were engulfed in a sea of fire, and could barely fend for themselves. Those below the Grotto Heaven realm were forced to retreat, before they could even get close to Wu Dao's purgatory. Those who were too slow to dodge were instantly turned into ashes. Splash! The sound of waves could be heard as bloodline anomalies appeared. The Wuxia tribe's kings who were engulfed in the sea of fire frantically circulated their blood to extinguish the flames on their bodies. However, the Martial Dao True Body's purgatory contained 5 types of incomparably powerful flame power. The Red Lotus Fire, the Fire of 10,000 Tribulations, the Dragon Phoenix Flame, the Martial Soul Flame, and the Hellfire intertwined to form a terrifying purgatory that could burn and refine anything. The Yiksha tribe's bloodline anomalies had just been formed when they were burned to ashes by Wu Dao's purgatory. Not to mention the Yikshas. Even the Void Yiksha's bloodline could not extinguish the flames in the martial purgatory. Boom, boom, boom. Many Yikshas were burned to ashes. They did not dare to hesitate and opened their own grotto heavens. Two purple flames suddenly rose in the eyes of the martial Dao body, flashing with a deep and bright brilliance. This was it. Wu Dao's purgatory was condensing Wu Dao's dharma. Every inch of space was condensed with Wu Dao's will. If Wu Dao's purgatory had been fully activated, some of the low-level Yiksha tribe's kings would have been burned to ashes the moment they came into contact with the purgatory. The reason why he did not use his full power was because he wanted to wait for the Yikshas to release their grotto heavens. Not only did Wu Dao's purgatory want to kill the Yiksha tribe's kings, but more importantly, he wanted to refine their grotto heavens and merge them with his origin martial grotto heaven. Normal grotto heavens were connected to the heavens and the three realms. They could absorb heaven and earth yuan qi and refine it so that the grotto heaven could grow continuously. However, Wu Dao's purgatory was an anomaly. The origin martial grotto heaven formed by Wu Dao's purgatory was also an anomaly. The origin martial grotto heaven was outside the three realms. It could only absorb heaven and earth yuan qi. It could only grow by refining dharma and devouring other grotto heavens. The Yiksha tribe's grotto heavens were all nourishment for the origin martial grotto heaven. This was because once Wu Dao's purgatory took out the origin martial grotto heaven, he would feel a strong sense of danger, as if a calamity was about to descend. After forming the Wu Dao's purgatory, he could perfectly avoid this danger. Wu Dao's purgatory did not need to release the origin martial grotto heaven. With the terrifying power of Wu Dao's purgatory, he could burn and refine the other grotto heavens and merge them with the origin martial grotto heaven. The entire process was like water flowing out of a canal. After the origin martial grotto heaven absorbed the dharma of the other grotto heavens, it could also feed the dharma to Wu Dao's purgatory and help it grow. Wu Dao's purgatory and the origin martial grotto heaven could perfectly merge and even complement each other. Chapter 28:15. The Nine Underworlds Abyss was emitting a green glow. On the other side of the Nine Underworlds Abyss, Wu Dao's original body had turned into a purgatory, enveloping dozens of Yiksha kings within. The flames were raging and blazing. The two lights intertwined in the dark night sky of the world of spirits and souls. It was dazzling. The dozens of Yiksha kings were horrified to find that their grotto heavens could not withstand the flames of the purgatory at all. Not to mention the grotto heavens of the Yiksha kings. Even the great perfection grotto heavens could not withstand the burning of Wu Dao's purgatory. The 5 types of powerful flames intertwined with Wu Dao's dharma and Wu Dao's will. Crack, crack, crack. The grotto heavens were shattered one by one. Countless dharma skills merged with Wu Dao's purgatory and turned into streaks of flames that surged into Wu Dao's original body and were devoured by the elemental martial grotto heaven. Wu Dao's original body stood in the air. He was like a huge whirlpool, devouring everything around him without restraint. Without the protection of the grotto heavens, the Yiksha kings could not withstand the flames of Wu Dao's purgatory at all. Roar, roar, roar. In the purgatory, the Yiksha kings screamed in agony. Some of the Yiksha kings were burned to ashes within a few breaths. Not even their bones were left. The remaining Yiksha kings were barely holding on. Every inch of their bodies, including their mouths and noses, was spewing flames. They could not survive. In Wu Dao's purgatory, they did not even have the chance to escape. On the other side, the battle between the Void Yiksha and the Yiksha commander had come to an end. The Void Yiksha was covered in blood. The grotto heavens behind him had been shattered. The Void Yiksha commander stepped on him. Half of his face was buried in the wet soil, and he could not move. Ugly slave, you defeated me in every aspect in the past. Did you expect this day to come? The Yiksha commander looked excited. He kept stepping on the Void Yiksha's head. The Void Yiksha's skull seemed to be unable to withstand the pressure. It let out a series of creaking sounds, as if it could shatter at any moment. After all, He had been imprisoned in the Bitter Spring prison for too many years, soaking in the Bitter Spring prison all year round. Not only had his cultivation base stagnated, but his body and bloodline had also suffered great damage and destruction. Although he had escaped from the infernal court, and his physical body seemed to have recovered, there were still many hidden injuries in his body. He did not know how long it would take for him to fully recover. On the other hand, Wuxia Commander continued to cultivate in the world of spirits and souls. Naturally, Wuxia Commander surpassed him. Ugly slave, beg for mercy. The Wuxia Commander grinned. If you are sincere, perhaps I will be happy and spare your life. Ha ha ha. The void Wuxia's face was turned to the side as he lay in the blood-colored soil. Only one of his eyes could be seen, and his heart was filled with despair. He knew the Wuxia's methods and temperament. Even if he begged for mercy, this Wuxia Commander would not let him go. The other party didn't kill him immediately, because he was enjoying the thrill of torturing him. This excitement was also hidden in his blood. If he was in the same situation, he would not let his opponent go either. Ugly slave, you have committed a great crime, and were exiled to the Nether River. Now you have led a foreign race to infiltrate my clan. Your crimes are unforgivable. The Wuxia Commander scolded. Not just me, even the entire world of spirits and souls will not tolerate you. Before he finished speaking, the Wuxia Commander raised his foot again, gathered strength, and then stomped heavily on the void Wuxia's head. This was enough to crush his head and destroy his primordial spirit. The void Wuxia closed his eyes. Boom! A loud bang suddenly came from above his head. The void Wuxia's heart trembled, and he subconsciously opened his eyes to look. He saw a figure burning with flames in the sky, and the Wuxia Commander was smashed into pieces by his punch. Immediately after, this person opened his mouth and spat out a dragon-like flame, instantly engulfing the Wuxia Commander's shattered flesh and blood. The Wuxia Commander's primordial spirit could not escape, and was burned to ashes by the flame. It was the Lord of Hell. It was not until now that the void Wuxia realized that the Lord of Hell did not use his full strength when they fought in the infernal court. Otherwise, he would not be able to withstand the power of this Lord of Hell's punch. The void Wuxia looked at this figure, and a wave of guilt suddenly surged in his heart. If it were not for this person, he would still be trapped in the underground prison of the Bitter Spring prison, tortured day and night by the bitter spring of hell, never to see the light of day. Just now, it was this person who saved his life again, and he was still thinking about how to sacrifice this person in exchange for his life. The void Wuxia saw the Wuxia clan's attitude towards him, and in addition to the guilt he felt towards Wu Dao's original body, he could not help but feel disheartened and said, I lied to you before. Oh, Wu Dao's original body looked down from above, his expression calm as he looked indifferently at the void Wuxia under his feet. The void Wuxia said, I lied to you to come to the 9 underworlds abyss, because I wanted to follow the 9 underworlds abyss to the river of life, to pay a visit to Lady Ghost's mother, and offer you to her to wash away my sins. You are a human and the Lord of Hell, and you have a few peerless treasures on you. If Lady Ghost's mother is happy to see you, she might forgive me. You are a human, and I am a Wuxia. We are natural enemies. Even if you saved me, I would not be willing to be controlled by you. So I lied to you. Wu Dao's original body did not say a word. He had long noticed the strangeness of the void Wuxia, but he did not expect this Wuxia to have a conscience and be honest with him. The void Wuxia continued. The commotion here will definitely alarm more powerful Wuxias. Perhaps quasi-emperors, or even emperor-level Wuxias will come. Although your combat strength is strong, you are no match for them. After you kill me, hurry up and run. When the void Wuxia said this, he did not plan to live. Wu Dao's original body suddenly said, You once said that there is a way to go to a medium-class world in the ghost realm. You lied to me about this too. It's true. The void Wuxia said, In the ghost realm, one can descend to a medium-class world through a sacrificial ritual. However, only Lady Ghost's mother has the ability to use this method. Very well. Wu Dao's original body nodded and said faintly, You did not lie to me about this. I will spare your life for now. After all, He had relied on this void Yiksha to leave the infernal court and meet up with Qinglian's true body in the underworld. He used the water of the Black Spring to help Qinglian's true body get rid of the curse crisis. That was why he had tolerated the void Yiksha until now. Although he still could not contact her, Wu Dao's original body speculated that Qinglian's true body should have escaped the crisis. Since Qinglian's true body was fine, he was not in a hurry to return to the medium-class world. As long as he knew that there was a way to go to the medium-class world from the ghost realm, he could always find an opportunity. Of course, there were still too many unknown risks and uncertainties that alarmed the Brahma ghost mother. Wu Dao's original body came to the edge of the 9 underworld's abyss and looked at the flickering green light in the abyss. As if sensing something, a strange look flashed across the depths of his eyes. Chapter 28:16. The void Yiksha looked at the figure of Wu Dao's original body with a dazed expression, and his mood was extremely complicated. In his disheartened state, he told the truth because he was prepared to die. He didn't expect that the Lord of Hell, who was decisive in killing in his eyes, didn't kill him but gave him another chance. The void Yiksha thought about it and smiled bitterly. Even if you don't kill me, the Yiksha clan won't let me go. Wu Dao's original body didn't seem to hear him, and suddenly asked, "What's under the 9 underworld's abyss? Why does it reflect this dark green light?" At the mention of this, a hint of fear flashed across the void Yiksha's eyes. He said, "This abyss is the burial ground of the ghost realm. Countless skeletons of ghost realm cultivators are buried here. The Yin Qi is the heaviest. In the extreme Yin environment of the 9 underworld's abyss, an extremely terrifying flame was born, called the Netherworld Ghost Fire." Netherworld Ghost Fire. Wu Dao's original body's eyes lit up. In fact, when he released Wu Dao's purgatory just now, he faintly felt that there seemed to be a powerful force hidden in the depths of the 9 underworld's abyss. This power could produce a trace of resonance with the 5 strongest flames in the domain. Ghost fire was quite common in the cultivation world. In the Emperor Tomb, there were even some cursed ghost fire. This was the first time he heard of the Netherworld Ghost Fire. Netherworld Ghost Fire, Netherworld Treasure Mirror, were the two related? Of course, there are also legends that the Netherworld Ghost Fire comes from the source of the Nether River. But no one can say for sure. The void Yiksha continued. In short, the Netherworld Ghost Fire in the 9 underworld's abyss is extremely terrifying and can burn blood and qi. Even the Emperor Realm experts of the Ghost Realm are wary of it. This dark green light is the fire emitted by the Netherworld Ghost Fire. At this moment, in the direction of the Yiksha Ghost Domain, suddenly burst out a terrifying aura. In the darkness, countless Yiksha experts woke up. "Hurry up and run." The void Yiksha noticed this scene and hurriedly urged. "When the quasi-emperor Yiksha comes, you can't stop it at all. Even if you rely on those treasures to kill 1 or 2 quasi-emperors, the true Emperor Yiksha will definitely be alerted. You may be the Lord of Hell, but you can't fight against the entire world of spirits and souls. As for returning to the medium-class world, don't even think about it. Lady Ghost's mother is currently in a deep slumber. She is being guarded by the 10 Rakshasas and the 8 Yikshas. You won't be able to get close to her." Wu Dao's true body had a calm expression as he asked indifferently, "What about you?" "Me." The void Yiksha grinned and said, "I definitely won't be able to live. The Yiksha race won't let me go." Wu Dao's original body sensed the terrifying auras rising from the direction of the Yiksha Ghost Domain. He looked down at the 9 underworld's abyss and said meaningfully, "Good luck. If your life is tough, perhaps we will meet again one day." After he finished speaking, Wu Dao's main body leaped into the 9 underworld's abyss. "Ah!" The void Yiksha was startled and shouted, "Crazy, this is really crazy." The void Yiksha struggled to get to his feet and staggered to the edge of the abyss. He looked down into the abyss, but Wu Dao's figure was nowhere to be seen. "You jumped into the 9 underworld's abyss. I'm afraid we won't meet again." The void Yiksha muttered softly, "That's not right." He laughed bitterly and said, "I'm about to die. After you and I die, if our souls have the chance to escape into the underworld, perhaps we will meet again." At this moment, several yakshas rushed out from the darkness. The few leading them had terrifying auras, and were all at the boundary emperor level. The rest were the Yaksha race's kings. Just now dozens of Yaksha race's kings had died in this battle. This had directly alarmed the experts of the Yaksha ghost domain's 8 Great Plains. Apart from the war between the 2 ghost domains, the Yaksha ghost domain had never lost so many people in such a short period of time. What's going on? The Yaksha race's sub-emperor leader asked in a deep voice. This sub-emperor came from one of the 8 Great Plains, the Half-Shroud Plain. Before this, many yakshas had gathered in the area and witnessed the entire process. The group of yakshas stepped forward and recounted the events of the battle that had just taken place. Another quasi-emperor from the Moni Plain turned his eyes and looked at the Void Yaksha. His eyes revealed a murderous glint as he said slowly, "Ugly slave, you are a sinner, yet you still dare to lead a foreign race into the world of spirits and souls. You deserve to die for betraying the ghost domain." The Half-Shroud Plain sub-emperor said coldly. The Void Yaksha knew that he was going to die, so there was no longer any fear in his heart. He puffed out his chest and said loudly, "I did bring that human in, but I've never betrayed the ghost domain. You still dare to deny it?" The Snow Mountain sub-emperor sneered and stared at the Void Yaksha. He asked slowly, "Speak. How did you survive after being exiled to the Netherworld River? How did you return to the ghost domain? Tell me the entire process, including the origin of that human. If you hide anything, I'll torture you until you're better off dead." The Void Yaksha had a clear conscience and had nothing to hide. He said, "I was exiled to the Netherworld River by Lady Ghost's mother. I thought I was going to die, but who knew that I would be swept into another branch of the Netherworld River, and this branch leads to the Hell Domain. In the depths of the 9 underworlds abyss, Wu Dao could no longer control his body, and could only continue to descend. There seemed to be an invisible force in the abyss that was pulling his body forcefully. Wu Dao looked down, and saw that the bottom of the abyss was filled with corpses piled up into mountains under the green light. The most obvious feature of these corpses was that there was no flesh on their bodies, but their bones were intact. Some of the corpses were still in a state of battle before they died. Through the shape of these corpses, one could easily tell the race of the owner of these corpses. Some belonged to the Yaksha race. Some of the corpses had bone wings on their backs, and clearly belonged to the Rakshasa race. Suddenly, Wu Dao's body narrowed his eyes, and looked at the skeleton of the Rakshasa race. There were actually 4 pairs of bone wings on the back of this Rakshasa skeleton. One had to know that the Rakshasa race's true spirit only had 2 pairs of bone wings. Kings had 3 pairs of bone wings. Only when they cultivated to the Emperor realm could they grow a 4th pair of bone wings. This was an Emperor realm Rakshasa, and the skull of this Emperor realm Rakshasa was pierced through by the sharp claws of another Yaksha. The bone wings on this Rakshasa's back cut off half of the Yaksha's head. If nothing went wrong, this Yaksha was also an Emperor realm expert. The depths of the 9 underworlds abyss was indeed the burial ground of the ghost world. There were actually the skeletons of an Emperor realm expert. Moreover, there were more than 2 of them. The martial Dao true body could see more than a dozen well-preserved Emperor realm skeletons among the countless white skeletons, standing tall and upright. Although it was only a skeleton, and it was unknown how long it had been dead, it still emitted a heart-palpitating aura. Ghost chi lingered around it, and its might was still there. Chapter 28:17. In the crevices of these bones, clusters of dark green flames were emitting. The temperature was not high, but it made Wu Dao's original body feel an intense burning pain. Netherworld ghost flame. As if sensing the arrival of Wu Dao's original body, the flames that were originally quietly burning in the crevices of the bones suddenly became violent. The fire surged, as if countless ghost shadows had appeared, instantly drowning Wu Dao's original body. Bang! Wu Dao's original body fell heavily onto the pile of bones. His entire body had been engulfed by the Netherworld ghost flame, and his chi and blood were rapidly being consumed. The Void Yaksha was right. The Netherworld ghost flame could burn chi and blood. Not only that, It was also crazily burning the flesh and blood of Wu Dao's original body. It was as if countless ghost shadows were hidden in the flames, crazily biting his flesh and blood. The body of Wu Dao's original body was shriveling at a speed visible to the naked eye. Pain. Intense pain. But this pain was far from the pain caused by the hellfire in the Avicii hell. Wu Dao's original body was still able to maintain his consciousness. He chose to jump down the 9 nether abyss. Of course, it was not on impulse. Just now, that battle had already alarmed the Yiksha ghost realm. Just as the Void Yiksha had said, once a quasi-emperor or emperor realm expert descended, he would not be able to resist at all. And the ghost realm was too unfamiliar to him. Even if he fled immediately, he might not be able to hide for long. The best way to retreat was the 9 nether abyss. In the 9 nether abyss, there was the netherworld ghost flame. Even emperor realm experts were wary of it. So Wu Dao's original body naturally could not resist it. But as long as he could fuse the netherworld ghost flame into his body before it killed him, and become the 6th flame in Wu Dao's purgatory, the netherworld ghost flame would no longer be a threat. This action was naturally extremely dangerous. However, Wu Dao's original body had a similar experience in the Avicii hell, so he took the risk to try to devour and refine the netherworld ghost flame. If he failed, he would not be able to avoid death. But if he succeeded, the improvement of Wu Dao's original body would be too great. Wu Dao's purgatory had once again merged with such a powerful and terrifying flame. His domain's power had greatly increased. It was even extremely likely that this nether ghost flame would allow the cultivation of Wu Dao's main body to rise by a level in a short period of time. Wu Dao's main body endured the pain and sat down cross-legged. His clothes had already been reduced to ashes, and even the Mo Luo mask had fallen off his face. If there was anyone else here, they wouldn't be able to recognize him. Wu Dao's original body had long changed beyond recognition under the burning of the netherworld ghost flames. Fortunately, he cultivated Wu Dao and condensed the true Wu Dao body. Every inch of his flesh and blood contained Wu Dao's laws and Wu Dao's will. Otherwise, in just these few breaths of time, the flesh and blood on his body would have been completely incinerated. This abyss was a place of extreme een, and there were countless ghost race skeletons. Baleful qi pervaded the air, and under the nourishment of the year, the nether ghost flame was incomparably powerful. Even Emperor Realm experts were wary of it, and the true Wu Dao body couldn't withstand it. It could only delay the burning speed of the nether ghost flame to the greatest extent, and by time for Wu Dao's main body. Wu Dao's main body released Wu Dao's purgatory, and at the same time turned into Wu Dao's furnace, constantly trying to refine the nether ghost flame. The nether ghost flame was too strong. It was different from the 5 supreme flames he controlled. Moreover, even if Wu Dao's main body tried to refine the nether ghost flame with his martial spirit fire, Red Lotus karmic fire, Calamity fire, Dragon Phoenix flame, and Hellfire, he couldn't subdue it in a short period of time. Wu Dao's main body could only endure the pain and remain conscious. The harder it was to subdue a flame, the greater the improvement it would bring to his control. Moreover, Wu Dao's main body's martial spirit was a ball of purple flame, and no one could compare with him in terms of understanding and perception of flames. If the refinement failed, he tried again. The cycle repeated itself over and over again. The nether ghost flame on Wu Dao's main body didn't extinguish, and as time passed, the flesh on his body became less and less. After an unknown period of time, in the depths of the 9 underworld's abyss, among the countless skeletons, there was another skeleton sitting cross-legged. At this time, Wu Dao's main body didn't have any flesh on it. Only a skeleton engraved with countless mysterious runes, intertwined with Dao and Law, was left sitting there, bathed in dark green flames. Through the 2 holes in the skull, one could clearly see a cluster of purple flame floating behind the forehead. If all the flesh and blood on Wu Dao's main body were burned to ashes by the nether ghost flame, the next step would be his essence spirit. The nether ghost flame wouldn't burn bones, so there were countless skeletons left in this abyss, piling up into mountains. Time was running out. Wu Dao's main body was as calm as water. Beside him, other than the dark green nether ghost flame, there were 4 flames floating. These 4 flames continued to revolve around him, resonating with the martial soul fire behind his eyebrows. Suddenly, the skeleton trembled, and 2 dark green flames suddenly rose from the black holes in its eyes. It was the nether ghost flame. In the next moment, the aura of the skeleton changed drastically, as if it had merged with the surrounding nether ghost flame. Although the nether ghost flame was still burning on his body, he didn't feel any harm. Instead, there was a warm and comfortable feeling. Success! Wu Dao's main body was overjoyed. Although the power of the nether ghost flame released by him was far inferior to the nether ghost flame in the 9 underworlds abyss due to his cultivation realm. But the surrounding nether ghost flame could no longer hurt him. In the next moment, countless pieces of flesh and blood were rapidly growing on the skeleton, filling the entire body. Under the shroud of the nether ghost flame, Wu Dao's main body reconstructed the true Wu Dao body. At the same time, the aura in his body also rose rapidly. In Wu Dao's purgatory, there was another type of strong flame, the power of the domain sword, and the speed of refining the scripture secret technique also increased. Whether it was Wu Dao's purgatory or reconstructing the true Wu Dao body, they both required a large amount of heaven and earth essence qi. The skeleton suddenly stood up and opened its mouth to swallow and spit out large mouthfuls. Whoosh! Whoosh! An endless stream of ghost qi emerged from the sky and the ground. As if it was being pulled by a strong force, it surged towards the 9 underworlds abyss. For ordinary cultivators, it was very difficult to absorb ghost qi to cultivate. But for Wu Dao's main body, there was no need to worry at all. A large amount of dense ghost qi surged into the Wu Dao's purgatory and was instantly burned by the 6 types of strong flames. The impurities were refined, leaving behind incomparably pure heaven and earth essence qi that nourished the true Wu Dao body. Wu Dao's main body reconstructed the true Wu Dao body. The flesh and blood on his body were rapidly filling up, and his body gradually returned to normal. Wu Dao's purgatory was also constantly accumulating energy, rapidly reaching its peak. Boom! A deafening sound came from Wu Dao's main body. In an instant the earth shook. An even more terrifying domain, with a larger range, burst forth instantly. Raging flames soared into the sky, and even rushed out of the 9 underworlds abyss. His main body had advanced another step in Wu Dao's cultivation realm. Greater mastery of the martial domain realm. End of chapter. Chapter 28:18. In the 9 underworlds abyss. What happened? What's going on? The group of Yikshaws who were interrogating the void Yikshaws could not help but frown when they sensed the commotion coming from the 9 underworlds abyss. A few Yiksha quasi-emperors came to the edge of the abyss and looked down. In their senses, the 9 underworlds abyss was like the mouth of a giant beast that could devour heaven and earth. It was crazily swallowing the ghostly qi of the entire ghost world. The void Yikshas were also shocked. There had never been such a commotion in the 9 underworlds abyss. Earlier on, the Lord of Hell had leaped into the abyss. Could this commotion be related to the Lord of Hell? The void Yikshas could not believe it. Logically speaking, the Lord of Hell should have been reduced to a pile of bones by the netherworld ghost flames in such a short time. Did you guys see that foreign being jump into the abyss with your own eyes? One of the Yeksha quasi-emperors turned around and looked at his clansmen who were watching from a distance. There's no mistake. This human has a strong temperament. He killed himself here. Many Yikshas hurriedly replied. Humph. Another Yiksha quasi-emperor sneered. Strong temperament? If he falls into my hands, I'll make him suffer a fate worse than death. Dying in the 9 underworlds abyss is too easy for him. Before he finished speaking, a loud sound came from the bottom of the abyss. Then the earth and mountains shook. The Yikshas who were standing at the edge of the abyss were not prepared for this. They staggered and were shocked. They quickly rose into the air and looked toward the 9 underworlds abyss. Whoosh! In the next moment, a ball of ferocious flames erupted from the bottom of the 9 underworlds abyss like a volcanic eruption. It instantly engulfed a Yiksha quasi-emperor, who could not dodge in time. Ah! The Yiksha quasi-emperor screamed in agony as his body was engulfed in flames. He hurriedly propped up his grotto heaven and activated his bloodline to resist the flames from the abyss. His grotto heaven already contained a trace of the power of the world. However, his grotto heaven could not withstand the burning flames. Within a few breaths it was burned red. Not only that, his blood chi was also burning rapidly. His body was shriveling at a speed visible to the naked eye. The quasi-emperor of the Wuxia race shrieked in terror as he tried to escape the area enveloped by the flames. However, no matter how hard he tried, he was unable to break out of the ring of fire. At the edge of this terrifying flame, there seemed to be an invisible barrier that kept him inside. The Wuxia boundary emperor's grotto heaven could no longer hold on, and cracks began to appear on it. His originally tall and sturdy body had shrunk by a whole circle from the burning. He was like a skeleton wrapped in charred skin, emitting thick smoke. Before long, under the horrified gazes of countless Wuxias, the quasi-emperor of the Wuxia race was burned to ashes by the flames spewing out from the bottom of the abyss. Hiss! Many of the Wuxias were shocked by the scene before them. In just a few breaths, a quasi-emperor level expert was burned to death. Moreover, the flames that gushed out from the abyss were clearly not the netherworld ghost flames, but another type of blazing flame. Countless Dao arts were interwoven within it, and it contained a powerful will. What is this? Where did this flame come from? The Wuxias whose cultivation was not high enough retreated in fear. Even the Wuxia boundary emperors were wary, and did not dare to recklessly step forward. Even the Wuxia boundary emperor could not withstand it. Even if they stepped forward, they would not be able to do anything. Only the void Wuxia looked at the blazing flames in the abyss thoughtfully. The will contained within the blazing flames was somewhat familiar. It was as if a sovereign had descended upon the world. It was extremely powerful and unshakable. It seemed to have come from the Lord of Hell. However, the Lord of Hell's purgatory could only kill a grotto heaven Wuxia at most. It should not be able to trap a quasi-emperor. However, even a quasi-emperor could not withstand the blazing flames in front of them. Could it be that the Lord of Hell is not dead? The void Wuxia suddenly recalled the meaningful words Wu Dao had said to him before leaping into the 9 underworlds abyss. Although he did not know what had happened in the 9 underworlds abyss, the void Wuxia could vaguely sense that the terrifying flames had something to do with Wu Dao. When Wu Dao had just stepped into the martial domain realm, he could already defeat Grotto Heaven Realm cultivators and suppress all Grotto Heaven Realm kings. Now that he had reached the martial domain realm, the power of Wu Dao's purgatory had skyrocketed. It could completely suppress a boundary emperor. However, the martial Dao body's improvement did not stop. Wu Dao had already formed the origin martial Grotto Heaven. Although he had absorbed and refined some Grotto Heavens during the battle in the Jianmu mountain range, he was still far from breaking through. Later, when the Infernal Court was fighting for the Lord of Hell, he had devoured some Grotto Heavens, including the 2 boundary emperors' Grotto Heavens. However, after devouring them, he did not have the chance to refine and absorb them. Just now, during the battle in the abyss, Wu Dao had killed dozens of Wuxia race kings, and once again merged these Grotto Heavens into his body. Now, with the help of the martial domain realm, the origin martial Grotto Heaven was also operating, madly absorbing and digesting the Dao techniques condensed in the Grotto Heavens. Under normal circumstances, although Wu Dao had already controlled 6 types of supreme flames, he still could not refine and absorb so many Grotto Heavens Dao techniques in a short period of time. However, this was the 9 underworlds abyss. The netherworld ghost flames burning around him had reached the Emperor realm. Wu Dao's netherworld ghost flames were limited by his cultivation realm. The netherworld ghost flames he controlled had not reached the Emperor realm. However, he could use the surrounding netherworld ghost flames to help him refine the Grotto Heavens he had devoured. This was the true meaning of inviting fire to oneself. However, after he had comprehended the netherworld ghost flames, the netherworld ghost flames in the 9 underworlds abyss could no longer harm him. With the help of the Emperor-level netherworld ghost flames, the many Grotto Heavens Dao techniques that Wu Dao had devoured were melting at a terrifying speed. What the origin martial Grotto Heaven needed to do was to absorb all of these Dao techniques. After Wu Dao's purgatory reached the greater mastery stage, the origin martial grotto heaven also grew rapidly. The power it contained continued to rise, and finally reached the peak. Boom! Once again, a loud sound came from Wu Dao's body. It was earth-shattering. Wu Dao's body suddenly disappeared. Under the cover of the netherworld ghost flames, a dark and deep grotto heaven appeared. It suddenly expanded like a huge black hole in the starry sky. Immediately after, the huge and deep grotto heaven disappeared again. Wu Dao's body reappeared. After such a short disappearance, the aura of Wu Dao's body had clearly become more terrifying. It was as vast as the starry sky, unfathomable. Grotto Heaven Realm Greater Mastery. The origin martial grotto heaven had transformed into a large grotto heaven. Wu Dao's true body, was the origin martial grotto heaven. Now that the origin martial grotto heaven had reached the greater mastery stage, Wu Dao's physical body and bloodline had also been reborn. His strength had also skyrocketed. Wu Dao's true body felt that with every move he made, he could burst out with shocking divine power. It caused the void to tremble and the wind and clouds to change color. Even if he did not release Wu Dao's purgatory, just relying on his physical body and bloodline, Wu Dao's true body believed that he could fight against a boundary emperor expert. End of chapter. Chapter 28:19. More and more Yakshas and Rakshasas gathered near the 9 underworlds abyss. They were discussing among themselves, but no one dared to approach the abyss. Before the quasi-emperors could figure out what was going on, another loud explosion came from the depths of the 9 underworlds abyss. The earth shook and the mountains shook. This time, the entire ghost realm was alarmed. Terrifying auras burst out from the 2 ghostly realms, resulting in an unbridled pressure. The emperors who were in seclusion woke up one after another. What's going on? 2 figures appeared in the sky above the 9 underworlds abyss. Just by standing in the air, they exuded a divine sense aura that made one's heart tremble. Even the ghost realm kings and quasi-emperors present bowed their heads and knelt on the ground with reverence. The commotion in the 9 underworlds abyss had alarmed the 2 ghost realms emperors. My lord, one of the quasi-emperors of the Yaksha race hurriedly recounted what happened earlier in full detail. A foreign race? He didn't die in the 9 underworlds abyss? A Yaksha emperor narrowed his eyes. Humph. Another Rakshasa imperial emperor with 8 wings snorted coldly and said slowly, Lady Ghost's mother is in a deep slumber. Can you Yakshas bear the responsibility if you disturb her? Stop arguing. Let's deal with the foreign race in the abyss first. The Yaksha emperor said in a deep voice. There are signs of life in the nether ghost flames below the abyss. If the nether ghost flames can't burn him to death, we'll just kill him. The 8-winged Rakshasa said coldly. The flames spewing out of Wu Dao's purgatory were a great threat to the emperors. But the 2 ghost realm emperors were not afraid. Boom, boom, boom. The 2 ghost realm emperors each held up a world and suppressed the burning flames in the 9 underworlds abyss. Just now, the ferocious and terrifying flames were quickly extinguished and collapsed under the suppression of the 2 ghost realm emperors' worlds. The 2 ghost realm emperors' eyes were cold as they descended from the sky and descended into the 9 underworlds abyss. The Yakshas and Rakshasas nearby heaved a sigh of relief when they saw this scene. They became excited. It was extremely rare in the ghost realm for the imperial emperors of the Yaksha clan and the Rakshasa clan to appear at the same time and even join forces against the enemy. In the end, an imperial emperor was still alarmed. The Void Yaksha looked at the figures of the 2 imperial emperors and suddenly felt worried for the human. It wouldn't be too bad if he died. He would be spared from being tortured by the 2 clans. However, if he didn't die, even if he obtained some fortuitous encounters below, how could he contend against 2 sovereign emperors? Below the abyss. Wu Dao's main body, who had just broken through not too long ago, quickly sensed the abnormality. Right above him, there were 2 incomparably powerful forces suppressing him. His Wu Dao purgatory, which had just reached large success, could not withstand it at all. It only lasted for a short while before it began to collapse. Wu Dao frowned slightly, If he was not mistaken, the two above should be imperial emperors of the ghost realm. Only the power of the emperor realm could suppress his Wu Dao purgatory. Wu Dao's main body's figure suddenly became a little blurry, and his eyes were deep. He had just had a thought. He wanted to release the origin martial grotto heaven and cooperate with the Wu Dao purgatory to fight against the two imperial emperors of the ghost realm. Ever since Wu Dao purgatory was formed, it had never been released at the same time as the origin martial grotto heaven. Wu Dao's main body was not sure how powerful the domain and grotto heaven would be when released at the same time. He speculated that the fusion of the two powers might be able to fight against the emperor realm, but very quickly he suppressed this thought. It was too risky. Once he released the origin martial grotto heaven, the sense of danger would be too strong, as if a great disaster would befall him at any time. Most importantly, he was still unable to trace the source of this sense of danger. An unknown threat was the most terrifying. Unless he had no choice, there was no need for him to take the risk. So far, although Wu Dao's main body did not control the power of the emperor realm, there was an inexhaustible power of the emperor realm in the 9 nether abyss. Netherworld Ghost Flame. Wu Dao's main body activated his primordial spirit and used the Netherworld Ghost Flame as a medium to establish a connection with the two standing skeletons around him. The skeletons that could maintain a standing posture in the 9 nether abyss were all Emperor Realm experts of the Ghost Realm when they were alive. And now, 2 balls of dark green flames suddenly rose from the holes in the eyes of the two skeletons, and the flames on their bodies shone brightly. In an instant, the 2 Emperor Realm skeletons seemed to have recovered their vitality and roared into the sky. The skeletons in the 9 nether abyss had been burned by the Netherworld Ghost Flame all year round. From a certain point of view, they had been tempered into weapons and became a part of the Netherworld Ghost Flame. After Wu Dao's main body comprehended the Netherworld Ghost Flame, he could use the Netherworld Ghost Flame to control the skeletons in the 9 nether abyss. On the other side, the 2 imperial emperors of the Wuxia clan and the Rakshasa clan condensed a world and suppressed it, quickly approaching the bottom of the 9 nether abyss. In their line of sight, they could already see a black-haired, purple-robed man standing in the Netherworld Ghost Flame at the bottom of the abyss. He wore a silver mask on his face, and his flesh and blood were intact. He was unharmed. The 2 imperial emperors frowned. With their cultivation realm, they did not dare to be so careless. They had to release a world to resist the Netherworld Ghost Flame at the bottom of the 9 nether abyss. What was going on with this foreign race? At this moment, the 2 standing skeletons closest to the purple-robed man suddenly woke up. The originally fine Netherworld Ghost Flame on their bodies burned fiercely, and the flames soared. Then the 2 skeletons surrounded by flames roared into the sky. They suddenly turned their heads and stared at the 2 imperial emperors in the air. 2 balls of dark green flames burned in their eyes. It was strange and sinister. The 2 imperial emperors of the Wuxia clan and the Rakshasa clan felt a chill on their backs when they were stared at by the 2 skeletons. They were bewildered. The 2 imperial emperors of the ghost realm saw it clearly. The 2 skeletons below were both imperial emperors in the past. One of them was from the Rakshasa clan. It had 8 bone wings on its back. It was very obvious. These 2 imperial emperors had been dead for many years. Why did they suddenly wake up? And why were they so hostile towards them? Boom! At this moment, the 2 imperial emperors suddenly moved. The Wuxia clan's imperial emperor stomped heavily on the ground, crushing countless corpses. It rushed into the sky and pounced on the Wuxia clan's imperial emperors. The other Rakshasa clan's imperial emperors was burning with dark green flames. It flapped its 8 wings and flew into the sky. It was even faster than the Rakshasa clan's imperial emperors. The 2 imperial emperors of the Wuxia clan and the Rakshasa clan were shocked. If it were just 2 imperial emperors, they would not be a threat to them. Although the imperial emperor's bones were tough, without flesh and blood, their strength was greatly reduced. In addition, they were dead, and their primordial spirits were destroyed. They could not support a world, so their combat strength was limited. However, The two Imperial Emperors' bodies were still burning with the Netherworld ghost flame that was powerful enough to threaten them. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.